At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jar.
And I am Anthony Sier. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to our program On Point, always hosted here by Mr. Jerome Gilman. He has given me that seat today to host, and we want to say congratulations to the great son of Liberia, who has been doing a great job along with his fellow panelists here. Mr. Aliu Kamara is seated, a supporter of JMB. We also have here Mr. Elvis Morris, who is a sympathizer of President George Manawia, but he has not been happy with so many things. So I don't know whether he's independent or he's leaning. There's the thing called leaning. I don't know what that means. And of course, the unabashed, unrepentant, unbending sedition, Jerome, he sits comfortably for the discussion. But before we get to the political side, it's politics too, though. Sierra Leone had its election yesterday, in which Manabio is seeking his second term. Our reporter, Edward Amara, is focused on Liberia West African correspondent based in Freetown, Sierra Leone. He has been following things there. Edward, welcome to On Point. How are you doing?
Fantastic, and I'm very happy joining you all the way from Kenema. Maybe my first time on Point. I'm really elated, I'm happy, and I feel very, very comfortable in trying maybe to tell you the current event in Sierra Leone amid our hotly contested election yesterday.
Thank you. It's good to have you. When you come on point, you got to be on point. So I hope you will be on point today. And the point we want from you is to give us update on the election that went down yesterday. How are things now? What do we need to know about the election so far?
Well, thank you very much. Sierra Leoneans are waiting their general election result following a tense campaign marred by violence. There was high turnout. Voters told the BBC and local media stations. On Wednesday, prior to the election, which happened on Saturday, we saw the opposition leader, the main opposition leader, Samora Mantis, Dr. Samora Kamara, complaining that he lost one of his supporters, maybe through a protest that they allege that one of his supporters was actually shot dead by the police. However, reaching the Sierra Leone IG person, that is the Inspector General of Police, he denied that maybe one of the stray bullets coming should not actually be from the police, rather it was coming from one of these protesters who possibly might have taken arms to the protest. But the election was actually contested on the backdrop of high cost of living, economic setback, and maybe a contest against the country's national unity. Sierra Leone is actually undertaking an election on a very different space compared to the normal election or the election that we have been used to. They are using what they call the PRO system, that is the proportional representation, for the parliamentary and local councils election. But the presidential election, it is still maintained at the same way. In short here, the PRO system means proportional representation. It is just like the parliamentary system of government, where you do not vote directly for your prime minister, rather you go and vote for the political party. And if one party wins a lot of seats, it is that party that will be given the opportunity to select the prime minister, as the case in Britain. The only difference between that in Sierra Leone, you are going to vote for the president, like Julius Maada Bio and Manti Samoa Kamara. Because during the election, we saw bitter rivals making coalition. In 2018, during the time of the general election, we had C4C, that is the Coalition for Change. We have NGC, that is the National and Grand Coalition. We have the APC, that is All People Congress. Then we have the SLPP, that is the Sierra Leone Party. All of them contested the election independently. And the election had to go into a second round, which forced the ruling party to form a coalition with the PMDC, that is the People Democratic Change, which after they gain nothing into the election. Then C4C form a coalition with the ruling APC by then, and the NGC, that is the National Grand Coalition, remain to be neutral. But in this 2023 election, the NGC, which came third in the 2018 election, has formed a coalition with the ruling XLPP. Then the C4C, which came fourth, has formed a coalition with the opposition APC. And in the election, we did not see, or according to the mandate of the proportional representation, now there was no presidential candidate for the opposition for the opposition NGC party and also the C4C coalition. All of their supporters who choose to vote for the NGC supported for Manda Bill of the ruling APC SLPP party, and those who choose to vote for the opposition coalition for change, that C4C, decided to vote for Dr. Samora. Then come to the House of Representatives. What they normally do, the party will submit a number of candidates, 20 for each constituency, and in it, these political parties are going to submit 20 lists of candidates that they deem necessary to stand for presidential parliamentary position into those areas. And they are going to organize their political parties or their candidates in the order of importance. If they know that this person is better than the other, he will come first, second, until to the 20th position. And for you to be declared a member of parliament elect, you must have 11.9% of the total valid vote cast. In short here, you are not going to vote directly for a particular candidate for the member of parliament. Rather, you are going to vote for the political party. And they are going to distribute the constituency or seats within a particular constituency based on the order of importance or the manner in which the political party submitted a list of candidates. So, both like if you have an independent candidate which was not awarded a symbol, but that person is arguably very popular within that particular constituency, he or she can go as independent candidate. As long as that person scored a threshold of 11.9%, automatically he or she becomes the member of parliament elect, and he's going to be recruited in parliament. But if you are recruited to parliament, you cannot be in parliament without having a political party. It means you are also forced to join the APC or the SLPP, and that same goes to the councillors. The councillors are actually elected on ward level, and each political party, if you win a parliamentary seat, it means you are going to 5 years term in office. And if you win a ward seat, that is the councillors, you are also going to be elected for 5 good years. And what happened again before the election? SLPP submitted, or the passing to be like women should be given 30% of any administrative positions into this country. It means if a particular political party is submitted a list of candidates which is 20, at least women should be 30% of it. So like you are going to work the 30% out of the 20 number of candidates being submitted. But it was more something that came into theory. Like if you watch at the 13 presidential candidates, only one female, Ika, which represented one of the People's Party into Sierra Leone. The rest were actually male. It means it was only in theory, but it was never done into practical form. Even when it comes to the parliamentary state, only few women were actually given the symbol. But those women who were not given the symbol, they decided to go independently. And it's a very masculine society. And the election actually was conducted free and fair. Even the National Electoral Watch, we are talking about independent candidates, or in a pressmen are also saying the election we are conducted free and fair, but we still have some isolated registered incidents. Yesterday in Freetown, the opposition APC alleged that there was ballot stuffing and other voting irregularities into certain polling stations. The National Electoral Commission, Mohamed K. Kone, the commission actually came out and said, indeed, election cannot go without having registered certain violence. But those were not enough to stop the polling into certain areas, although in certain cases, some polling stations were delayed, maybe because of late arrival of materials. However, all of those polling stations conducted their elections under a free and fair atmosphere. And some arrests were being made. They're actually waiting prosecution. And based on WhatsApp results, not popularly from any National Electoral Commission, but based on WhatsApp results, we are seeing the ruling SLPP taking a commanding lead into those preliminary results being released from the region. And if those results are to be qualified by the National Electoral Commission returning officer, it means the ruling SLPP will definitely win the election within the first round. However, the opposition is saying that they are going to contest any result that they think and feel that did not actually match the result taken from the poll. And we are doing two types of tallying system. They are doing the tallying system both manually and electronically. All vote counts are done in polling station before political party representatives, international observers, media, and also civil society activists. But just after those results have been collated, they are going to be sent electronically to the regional tallying center, and those results also will be sent directly to Freetown. And it is the commissioners in the four regions, that is in the east, the north, the south, and western area, that do not send the result to the National Electoral Commission, who has the tradition, the constitutional mandate to announce the result. And those results are going to be announced from the region by our local media or our traditional media, that is the frequency moderator, FM radio station. After those results have been announced, it is only then now the National Electoral Commission will definitely declare the result. And in counting those results, they are done from screening. They do the reunification, reconciliation, sorting, and before counting. The screening is like where they will see all of those ballot boxes that we are sent into those polling stations. If they are the actual ballot boxes, everybody will be around. Then the reunification, it will be just be like saying that 20 ballot boxes, papers we are sending there. I did the 20, they said yes, then they'll reconcile. After reconcile, they will do the sorting out. All ballot papers that we cast in favor of Party A, they will be packed one side. Party B, they will be packed one side. And Party C will be packed one side. And they will do the counting before everybody. And the result now will be sent to the regional tallying center, from the regional tallying center to the headquarters. But it is the commissioners in the east, north, south, and western areas that will first announce the result, sending it now to the national commissioner, and he will now do the final announcement. But I think the way the results are being tallied, and if the electronic voter system works, then either tomorrow we are definitely expecting the preliminary result. Then maybe by Tuesday or latest Wednesday, the presidential results are definitely going to be announced. But so far, so good. The election was contested under a free and fair atmosphere. Only a few pieces of incidents we are recorded, and some arrests have been made. They are awaiting prosecution, and the police and other international observers are keenly observing the election. And we are just praying that after everything, the results have been announced, we are praying that violence should not be felt as what happened previously. Because when you watch a Sierra Leone election, we push something that they call partisan mentality instead of national mentality. Because our country is divided into two political states. You have the North and the Freetown, which likely supports the opposition APC, and you come into the South and the East, which likely support the ruling party SLPP. So each time there is declaration of results, we normally expect violence to emanate in either Freetown or the North, which is Makeni. Because especially like in Freetown, you have majority of SLPP supporter and the bulk number of APC supporter. Sometimes during the time of jubilation, some inciting messages are being sent out, and we expect certain clashes, but the security forces are saying that they are on the alert, and whatsoever thing, it is definitely going to be put under control. And the election is being watched on a key eye. International communities and other people are advising key stakeholders, especially key actors within our political system, to remain calm and let us all listen to the election results.
So, Adwa, I want to know, in the election that just concluded, talking about the voting aspect of it, how many candidates contested in addition to the APC and the SLPP?
It was 11. 11 candidates contested in addition to the APC and the LCPP. Excuse me. Okay, yes, that is 11. 11 candidates. They would have actually been 15 for the presidential position. But before the elections, we saw the opposition NGC, that is the National Grand Coalition, which came third in the 2018 election, form a coalition with the ruling SLPP. Then the C4C, that is a coalition for change, which emanates or which is largely from the east, Connaught district to be precise, form a coalition with the opposition APC. So out of the 15 candidates, when two deleted themselves into the contest and decided to collate themselves with the ruling and opposition party, so we end up to have 13 candidates.
And of the 13 candidates, beside the SLPP candidate and the APC candidate, are the other candidates running, or did they run on party ticket, or were they independent candidates?
Well, we having like the APC, SLPP, of course, they are the most popular candidate into Sierra Leone, irrespective of what happened. It's just like you have the Republican and the Democrats into America. You must know that one of them will definitely win. The rest are actually fully registered candidates, they are independent candidates, and they have been contesting election prior to this time.
All right. So you said that the election was free and fair, and security forces are saying they are doing everything to prevent any violence that may come in. Have we heard anything, or have you heard anything from observers who are in the country? Do we even have observers in the country, in Sierra Leone?
We have EU observers. Some people left from East Africa, ECOWAS and AU. Then at the same time, we have international representatives, people from UN, they came, and even there are observers from Liberia. Some people left from Guinea, they came. So we have international observers, and likely they have confirmed that the election was actually done under a free and peaceful atmosphere. Although few isolated incidents are recorded, but those things did not actually prevent the peaceful conduct of the election, because police presence was actually felt in places like the north, where the ruling APC is there. And normally, when it comes to elections, the ginger trouble over there. So prior to the election, it was highly advisable that the security forces should be beefing up over there. Although they are actually complaining that. Yeah.
Edward, prior to the voting, was there any indication of any of the sides having an edge, like the the SLPP and the APC? Any of the two major sides was seen to have had an edge in terms of momentum before voting started yesterday?
Yeah. Prior to the election, based on opinion polls and the indices of what happened during the APC regime and the current SLPP, I think we all know that maybe majority of Sierra Leoneans, if it is based on opinion poll and certain pieces of evidence, it is very certain that the SLPP will definitely win the election, and it could be definitely a first round, because Sierra Leone have what they call a second ballot system. In case a candidate fails to receive 55% of the total valid vote cast in the name of the president, then we have a second round system. During the second round, the first and second leading candidate definitely contest for the election. But based on those opinion polls, I think the SLPP has an edge over the LPC.
Mr. Shia, can I come in here?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Amar. I have a question here for you. There's been talk about economic, turmoil in the country. And you look at somebody like Dr. Samura Kamara, who has a PhD in developmental economics, served as the governor of the Bank of Sierra Leone, was also finance minister and foreign minister, have a lot of experience. You would think that the people in Sierra Leone would turn to somebody like that who has the economic experience to turn the country around. And then maybe you can tell us why maybe that he's not as popular based on the needs of the country, and he fits that need perfectly. But then also there was some agitation by people from the diaspora. Somebody like Adebayor, not the footballer, but there's a guy popularly called Adebayor, who I think was either in Britain or the Netherlands, who was stoking some fears and agitation in the country. How was that situation handled? And why do you think Dr. Kamara was not as popular? Somebody who has a doctorate in economics to help fix the country economy. That would be my question for you.
Well, Samura Kamara is not a new kid on the block of Sierra Leone's politics. He has been there for quite a long time. He has served several governments, and he served as one our economic minister, his one as finance minister. He was unable to handle Sierra Leone's economy. And being at 80, what do you think? He can't definitely handle Sierra Leone economy. It's like he lost trust because he was part of a government that the name in Sierra Leone as a criminal racketeering enterprise. That was during the APC regime. And he was a very key actor into those things. And since his government failed, I think he still be maybe the nemesis of what happened with him. He just like a nemesis being fought against his person because he's not definitely somebody new to Sierra Leone. He's not new to our economic crisis. So everybody think and feel that if this man cannot handle our economy carefully during the time he was as finance minister, he served as economic minister, he was also one of the key factors into most of Sierra Leone politics in the past 10 years, then what will he do if he's given the full mandate? Then also, he was also been accused of maybe having some corrupt practices during the time he was actually handed some huge amount of money for the Sierra Leone consulate that is in America. And when he went there, the home is actually, the place is in a dilapidated situation. He is actually having a court case, all of those things. Speaking of Adebayo, I think, excuse me, please. Adebayo is just like a social media, maybe nuisance. But because of our society, we hardly maybe try to dissect certain things, analyze things that are actually true. And he's actually in the Netherlands, but maybe because of the human rights record of the Netherlands, Sierra Leone has not been able to ask for his extradition, not seek any secret arrest of a person over there. Unarguably, he has been inciting youth into Sierra Leone. If you listen to what goes on social media, he is full of profanity, inciting youth, maybe saying any other things. And I think he has actually been associated with a lot of civil protests into Sierra Leone, which have resulted into the death of many people. And the APC, in one or two ways, have distanced themselves with this so-called social media, maybe nuisance, but it's also an inciter. He cannot actually be underrated because when you see Sierra Leone is like Liberia, sometimes people will just hear an information on social media like WhatsApp or Facebook without knowing about the authenticity. They will conclude that this is true. And looking at how our nation is infected with illiteracy, ignorance, and high poverty, they can easily be used as maybe scapegoat to do whatsoever thing. But since then, I think Samora Kamara is definitely not trusted because this is the second time he's contesting the election. And apart from that, to just nail the final nail on his coffin, even within the ruling APC party, the ruling APC party by then, they never trusted Samora Kamara to actually lead their party. Some people were thinking that Ernest Bai Koroma, who was the former president, has created certain enemies during his regime. And he took Samora Kamara to become the candidate so that he can be at the back, remote controlling what he does. They think that Samora Kamara may not have a voice on his own, and he may not have that God to stand in the face of Ernest Bai Koroma. So he decided to impose his candidacy on them. So that's why we are seeing key stakeholders, key actors in the APC party, like Sylvia Bladin. She moved away from the APC to join the SLPP. Even Alpha Kanu, who hails from the north, that is Putloko, very close to Peter, one of the popular districts into Sierra Leone. He also joined the SLPP because they are having some amount of differences with the candidate being presented by Ernest Bai Koroma. Throughout, he was the only person who was singing his song. So most of those key actors in the APC, they withdrew from them.
Thank you.
And just a little nugget. Blyden is related to the Blyden from Liberia who served as president once. That's his descendant. So just so we know, that's a Liberian connection right there.
Ali, do you have a question for Amara?
Well, not really. I just wanted to say kudos to the people of Sierra Leone, even though we haven't gotten the final result. But I'm happy to see a country that is being innovative, that just doesn't go along with. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we see you holding your phone in your hand. What's that?
Yeah, because it's gotten so low. Every time I do stuff, people keep calling the phone. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think you put them up to this just to disturb me.
No, we don't.
But
we don't know what you mean.
Go ahead, Mr. Mara.
But so look at the election law. They've done some reform. As for us in Liberia, if it is not done the American way, it's not done at all. And so I like to see this. I hope we can learn from this as Liberians. We can learn from the people of Sierra Leone how to to make our civilization was quote unquote work for us. That is our own. Our democracy work for us. That is our own. Because over the years, these things have never worked. And I wish the people of Sierra Leone all the best. I know Mr. Gilmer will soon attack me of being a Sierra Leonean myself, but you know, my birth certificate says Liberia. That's what I have to say about that.
But why are you not sympathizing with the people of Sierra Leone when they're going through economic turmoil? Like you're saying, like, bro, people suffering. George, we are not doing well with the economy, but the people in Sierra Leone are crying on similar things. Why are you not sympathetic with them? If you're saying the same thing like
my son here can confuse me. Can get through English. What do you not sympathizing?
Please, let us not do that. Mr. Gilman, do you have a question for Amara?
Yes, Amara, I was listening to the politics in Sierra Leone. Two quick things that came to mind. The ban or campaigning, public campaigning was banned. Did they have a constitutional mandate to do that, to ban people from campaigning? Isn't that denying people the right of movement and free speech?
That is absolutely interesting. I think campaign is definitely part of democracy, and which actually made politics very interesting. However, based on previous circumstances into Sierra Leone, we have seen and heard and also witnessed a lot of political clashes during public campaign. However, what was used also was like a political rally. That has also been practiced into other parts of the world. It is also part of the same political system. If they know that allowing public campaign will definitely disturb the peace of the society, because when you are campaigning, it's the same thing as coming maybe to preach or to preach your message, or maybe I always use the word preaching, because that is why normally they behave like as if they are godly people. When they come, it is better for you to explain your manifesto. But during those times, we have seen hooligans, people, highwaymen, they take advantage of those situations, and they have caused a lot of destabilization into our country. That resulted in acts on acts, public attacks on public properties, and some areas can be so chaotic we end up to declare coffee hour. So they decided to ban public campaign, and also selected certain places where it could be like an open field, like a plain field, town fair, wheresoever there is an open square. You will come there, you have a canopy or whatsoever thing, and you will be given the opportunity to publicly tell people what is in your manifesto and what is your intention to be elected as a president. And if you are elected as a president, what definitely will you do? And public media will also given the opportunity, like journalists, some stakeholders can even come and ask you questions. I think in a nutshell, they yield a huge dividend because, one, there was lack of violence during our campaign time, and some people were given the opportunity to listen keenly to what their presidential candidates say. And if they leave from the field, you come and ask them, what did Manda BOC or Samura Kamara or this particular councillor? They will definitely tell you. When it was during the time of campaign, people do not actually know the necessity. The best thing we are doing is like dancing on the music, nobody listening to what anybody was saying. So now, at least, with the ban of public campaign and given the opportunity to go and give your speech in the field, people will now start to hold maybe presidential candidate or member of parliament elect based on what they told them during the time of campaign. But nobody used to listen to what normally goes on.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony Gay, thanks for joining us on Point today. Do you have a question or a comment you have based on the report?
First of all, I want to comment, Ed. I'll call you Ed instead of Edward, if you don't mind. I think what you just explained about banning the campaign or whatnot, I think it was in the best interest of the country. I don't think they instituted that, to sideline any political party or whatnot based on his explanation. And thank you, Mr. Gilman, for that question. That's a brilliant question. That's something I heard about, but I didn't know that was true. So hearing it from Ed himself, who live in the country, that is a very good important thing. Other than that, yeah, when I tried to come on time, and my Facebook started doing update for some reason. So
I can't hear you guys. Anthony, take me out. Anthony, take me out. I'm trying to take myself out, but I'm not getting out. Take me out. Let me come back in.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Edward, before we let you go, the economic situation in Freetown has been tough based on what you have reported and we've heard from people in Freetown. Economic conditions tend to decide an election. was that the case in Sierra Leone this time? I also want to know who are the people of Sierra Leone, holding responsible more for the economic hardship in the country. Is this the former ruling party, the APC, or is it the current ruling party, the SLPP?
Well, that depends on the understandability and knowledgeability of the person whom you are speaking to. If you speak to an extrovert who knows that the economic crisis that Sierra Leone or any other West African country is facing is not just limited to Sierra Leone, then we know that it is because of the Ukraine war, COVID-19, global warming, they will conclude so. And knowing that Sierra Leone does not export major things on our own, our diamonds are getting exhausted. We do not have like crude oil, what we export, and most of what we export is very limited. And we are riding a donor-driven economy. They will analyze it logically, and they can even tell you that maybe the bio-led government is definitely trying. So if you speak to somebody with a partisan mentality, who is actually an apologist like with the APC, he or she will tell you that during the APC regime, rice was like we are buying rice here for around 700 leone. That is arguably around let me just say around $35 dollars or $35 to $40 if you convert the money. So they will tell you that by then we used to buy rice here around maybe $25 to $30. So they will definitely blame the government of the day. So if you speak with an SLPP supporter, they will say no. This is not only limited to Sierra Leone. It is they can even apportion the blame. They can even share certain things like look at what Liberia is going on. Look at what also Guinea is on a take-home. So it depends on whom you speak to.
All right, Edward Amara there reporting for us and giving us update from the Sierra Leone election.
Real quick.
Hey, Anthony. Gentlemen, let me apologize for being delayed. But I have a very important question I'd like to ask Amara before he leaves.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I've been wondering about the political maturity of the parties. We see in Liberia several parties coming up and then they disappear after a while. Do we see perpetual political parties in the Sierra Leonean political scene? Are they just not upstarts and then they vanish, or have they been perpetual for over many decades? What's the situation like there?
That is an interesting question. It depends on the background on which that political party was formed. Like during the SLPP regime in 2007, that was the time I first stepped a foot in Sierra Leone. We saw like what they call the PMDC, People's Movement for Democratic Change, which emerged out of the SLPP. It was because Charles Mangai, who is now an opposition leader, formed a coalition with the opposition APC. He was actually part and parcel of the SLPP. He had wanted to run for. He wanted for them to give him the flag bearership. When they rejected him, he formed that particular party. It was like a breakaway party. So many times you see smaller parties coming in. They can definitely remain depending on their financial background, but there are certain parties which have actually come, and at the end of the day, they can easily delete themselves within the political scene because it depends on money. And there are certain parties, again, when they come, if they don't have the strong financial backing, what they normally do, they will coalesce with stronger parties like the APC or the SLPP. So when under normal circumstances, you will never hear about them. But when it is like during time of election, those parties will come and show themselves up. So some of them can actually remain, some of them can phase out. It depends on the financial background.
So there's no philosophical distinction or principles or value system that they espouse that make them different from one another. It's all about an individual running for your position. Is that it?
Yeah, sometimes I don't know. I did not get you clear, but sometimes parties are not formed here based on patriotism. It's like an ego of a person, his own individual unscrupulous interest. Because if you are part of Party A and you wanted to become the flag bearer of that particular party, and they have been deprived not to contest the election, right away they will form what they call a breakaway party, because he feel and think that he has a huge amount of supporters. He could have been the candidate, but they said, no, you are not the person of choice within this particular ranking. Then that person will feel disgruntled and they end up to form a political party. And when they form a political party, they will go and form another coalition. So most of the time, parties are not being formed because of national agenda. They are formed because of personal reasons. And if that party is being formed on personal reasons, do not expect it to last for long. They can definitely phase out, because some of them can even end up to leave. Especially when he fails to get what he wanted, they will leave.
Thank you. Thank you.
Real quick. Yeah, real quick. Amar, when I was listening to the BO camp, and they kept saying, we will build the roads. We will build the roads. And they were saying, we will take development over partisan, development over tribalism. And they were saying, even though the inflation rate is 31%, but they were telling the folks that they will build roads, they should take development over friendship, over partisan, over religion. Touch on that real quick.
Well, religion is felt into Sierra Leone because this is a Muslim-dominated country, but we have little premium on religion when it comes to our political affairs. However, tribalism is hardly fair. For far too long, the country has been divided. The North is widely seen as APC supporters, and most of those who sympathize with the APC are the Limbas and the Timini. And in Sierra Leone, you have the Mende, the Timini and the Limba, the Mende being the largest, the Timini being the second largest, and the Limba being the third. So they form coalition. So that is why when it comes to like maybe most of those promises that are being made, they are so astronomical, because when a political representative come and stand, it makes some huge amount of promises. But maybe the BO government has done a lot, because Sierra Leone, as I'm speaking, we have a little bit stable electricity system. There are also some amount of improvement have been made into the road system. Independently, I can tell you, if what the SPP government has done in the past 5 years, if that was how assiduously and maybe patriotically the APC worked in it past 10 years, maybe Sierra Leone would have developed more than this particular square that we are doing. But most of what they have been saying did not actually materialize. Maybe they would have done much better than what they have done if it were not for Ukraine crisis and COVID-19. But mind you, when they took over power in 2018, in 2019, we experienced the COVID-19, which had global effect. When it was during Ebola crisis, it was only something that was it was an epidemic based in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guinea. So we had the entire world supporting us. But the COVID-19 was a pandemic, so it felt the entire world, and even Sierra Leone was left to strive on our own to only have minimal amount of support. And most of what we depended on was definitely cancelled. Like in fact, most of the transactions within this country are definitely stopped. And by the time Sierra Leone started crippling up from back, we saw a Ukraine war coming in, which exacerbated increase in oil prices. And immediately, oil prices are being increased on the world market. It affects our domestic product here in terms of feeding whatsoever, and everything just rise up. That is why sometimes when you watch at it globally, you will think about other things.
Edward Amara there, focused on Labrador, West African correspondent, reporting from Freetown, Sierra Leone. He just gave us updates on the election that was conducted in Sierra Leone yesterday, June the 24th. Now counting is going on, verification of votes, everything going on. We expect some results to be coming soon, to be followed by certification, and also maybe before the announcement of candidates. We will be right back to see what can we learn from the Sierra Leone election, the way things started there and now ending there. Would that be the case in Liberia? We will be right back after this break. Edward, thank you for your reporting. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, we are back with you on our program On Point. We are now about to talk the politics of Liberia, looking at what just happened in Freetown, Sierra Leone. They are seated, they are political minds. And I see Mr. Jerome Gilman looking ready. We are happy to have the man, Anthony Gay, joining us from the CPP camp. Well, gentlemen, you just listened to Edward Brilliant reporting the election, first of all, was conducted on a free and fair condition. Given what we know so far, there were little, conflict here and there, but those were not major. According to his report, there are international observers there who have not said anything against the conduct of the election. He said there are about 11 candidates that are contesting in that election. Most of them are independent candidates, except for the APC candidate and the SLPP candidate. SLPP for Marabio, and the cameraman is from the APC, which is the major opposition political party there. According to him, things are going the way of the ruling party, the SLPP. So he said people believe that Marabio will get a second term, and this time it might be a one-round victory, will not go to second round, and 55% is required to win the election in the first round so that it cannot go to a second round. But if any of the parties or the candidates fail to obtain 55%, it will go to second round. According to him, it looks like somebody is going to get that 55%. More than likely, it's going to be Marabio. We asked the question, hey, looking at the way things are, the economic situation, who are they holding responsible? He said, well, it depends on the knowledgeability. He used a big word there. He went satya like a crewman. And the person you talk to, based on the person's knowledge, the person is an APC guy. Say, no, APC is not responsible. Marabio is the one in charge. We see similar thing in Liberia. Folks are holding the Unity Party responsible for what we have on our hands. That's the Jawia side. That is Mr. Gilman's side. Say, well, blame Ellen for everything that's happening now. We are just trying to fix the country. Whereas the opposition saying, hey, we have one president at a time. You told us you were going to fix the thing now. And Aliu Kamara is there, hey, my man Waka is clean. So let's get to it. What can we learn from what we just heard from the Sierra Leone election? And something he mentioned that is so important here. He said, well, at the polling places, they count the ballots, they have party representations there, and they send it to the regional center. The regional center will verify everything, they will reconcile it. And then they will send the result to the headquarters, and the headquarters' job is to just announce what's been verified at the regional center. So, I mean, it's a systematic system being put into place. More than likely, it might be difficult for somebody to cheat if everybody should follow what's been put into place there. I think it's similar to what we have in Liberia, ballots being posted on the wall. We are happy that there has not been any major violence so far. So, but the major political thing I want us to pick up from there to talk politics on point here, and I want everybody to be on point. The guy in charge, the ruling party, had the edge. They were leading in the polls, according to him, despite the harsh economic conditions in the country. And also, the opposition had not been together throughout the time leading to the election. And now, election just being conducted, the people voted, and preliminary result do not announce yet, but based on what been calculated so far, the ruling party is having an edge. So looking at that, will we experience similar trend in Liberia? The opposition are together to try to be together. They went into flames. Where is still standing there? Does he have the edge now? Does he have the momentum now? Or is he going to get the required 51% required in Liberia to win the thing in the first round? As it's been reported will be the case in Freetown. Let's talk politics. People, I think I lay it all out. To start, let's welcome Anthony Gay. Anthony, you're listening to what he reported there, and I just try to summarize it so that our audience and us will be on the same page because we'll open the phone lines for them. How you think things will play out in Liberia? Similar to Sierra Leone, or our case is different?
Our case is different. Madam Bio or President Bio is a very great communicator, unlike President Weah.
Okay.
Madam Bio have a history of that country not his first and second time. This is the third election, if I'm not mistaken, or not fourth. I think so. Uh, this guy, like the Edward said, when he came into office, he came around the same time George Weah came into office. But when we start looking at what he was able to lay out in Sierra Leone compared to the time President Weah came into office, you were giving an edge. I watched this guy on TED. TED is a platform where individual go and present the argument just to solicit, sponsorship. And this guy lay out his plan for Sierra Leone. And after that presentation on TED, trust me, Bill Gates and other investor went to Sierra Leone and they started investing in Sierra Leone. Unlike President Weah, he's not as great as a communicator compared to Malavio. Malavio go to the people, talk about the issue, go on national radio, speak about the issue, unlike President Weah. So whether or not President Weah is doing something, he's not communicating that thing. Some people know, some people don't know. Some people know of some things, some people don't know of some things. But we understand that the circumstances also in Sierra Leone would not be the same in Liberia because you found many presidential candidates who are independent. They just go as independent. And when you are just an independent, in the African setting, you don't stand a better chance to win. Even we see that in the United States, the independent candidate or the libertarian, they don't go anywhere further, right? It's the well-established political institution that try to make strides. So I would say in Liberia, it's a different trend. Let me speak of the CPP. I can speak of, other people can speak of that party, but I'll speak of the CPP. Where we stand today, Mr. Cummings has a very bold plan for Liberia. Things like having a broadband connectivity throughout the length and breadth of Liberia, having electricity throughout the length and breadth of Liberia, stating that, the free people of Liberia needs a flat rate. Currently today in Liberia, if you were to ship a container, by the time it gets to the port, you have to go through 23 bureaucracy or processes just to free a container. I went through that same process. We bought a F-150 truck for our farm project. We ship it to Liberia just to free that F-150. We pay more money than what we spend to purchase a truck here in the United States, right? So you hear Mr. Cummings talking about, the Ministry of Information will be removed and we'll take that to the executive mansion where we'll have a press conference, a press secretary that will handle the information of the country and will be replaced by tourism. To be precise, ecotourism. I mean, his plan is very bold. It's not ambiguous because broadband connectivity, we know currently in Liberia, when there's a rainfall, the internet start going in and out. Even without rainfall, just common breeze, the internet is in and out. That is a fact. That is a known fact. Having a broadband connectivity, that is my area of expertise. I can tell you, when you lay down a backbone as a fiber optic network, we create something called a redundancy. That if one goes down, the other one pick up the other one. You would not know unless you have a monitor system there to tell you, this line on the southbound or the eastbound went down.
So, Mr. Gate, your point there is it's your point there that Mr. Cummings, because he has plan, according to you, he has the momentum. The CPP has the momentum because we're trying to draw connection. What lesson can we learn from the Sierra Leone election?
So what I'm saying, unlike Sierra Leone, that have two major political parties, according to the reporting that we listened to, has two major political parties, and the rest of the other participants in the election were all independent candidates who decided to, because my guts tell me I can contest, I will contest, or because I feel like I can be a better person, I'll contest. It's not the case. You see the CPP, that is a well-structured political party right now in Liberia, outside of the ruling party. The CPP has structure in every county of Liberia. Unlike any other political party, it's well structured. It's a 15-county run campaign, and the top of the ticket is communicating. The VP is communicating, and the vice running mate also is communicating. And you see the chairman of the CPP is very vibrant and also communicating with the Liberian people. There's a myth out there. The Liberian people are resolved, and the Unity Party does a very good job on propaganda. The Liberian people are resolved to vote JMB. But that is not true. That is not true. We saw a statistic, on closing argument that the gentleman came there and gave a statistic talking about 1,500,000 Liberians across 5 counties are considered toss-off counties. Nobody can win those counties, and those are areas These very politicians need to fight to be able to be able to conquer. He called them battleground counties, right? Based on his statistics the
So,
other
Mr.
day.
Gay,
Mr. C, let me respond to Mr. Gay, please.
no, hold on. So, Mr. Gay, your point is that you said Manabio have been able to communicate with the Sierra Leonean people.
Communicate.
Not only within Sierra Leone, but outside of Sierra Leone to donor countries and donors, talking to them. And so because of that, he gained an edge despite the economic situation in Sierra Leone. He's now being favored as the person who is most likely to win. And Cummings or the CPP is doing the same thing. They have structures in the county. They're talking every day. So they are more than likely, or do they have the same momentum that Banabio had leading to the election? Is that something you want us to believe here?
What I can tell you today,
let me level my question because
the
the
CPP
polls,
will put up stun.
let me level my
CPP will
question.
put up
The
stun
polls
in
that we
October
continue
that
to
people will
receive,
not believe.
hold on.
The CPP
polls
will
that
put
we
on
continue
stun.
to receive is completely contrary to what you are saying.
Right.
I'm not understanding what you said.
I'm saying, given what you said and looking at the unscientific polls that have been conducted over the years, right? Mr. Cummings have never always done well in 99% of these polls. So that is different from what you're saying, or it's not adding up.
So yes, what I want to tell people.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike Sierra Leone, Liberia don't have a scientific pool. Let's just be honest. Like yesterday,
you know Sierra Leone to have a scientific
yeah. Do you know? Yeah. I mean, come on.
Sierra Leone is a bit better, not the best, but a bit better ahead and one step ahead of Liberia in terms of those things.
You perceive that it's not the fact. You perceive it to be that way. It's not the fact.
Yeah, please wait for your time, Evans. Let's get to Mr. Aliu Kamara. Aliu, you listen to the report. What parallel can you draw from what we just listened to from Sierra Leone that you can bring to Liberia that gives any of the aspirants or the candidates in Liberia an edge for this upcoming election?
Okay, since we're talking about election, I will forget about promoting Joseph Bogaga. That's not what the question is about.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So, listen, I don't think there's something to be compared, especially when you talk this election. In terms of what you're saying, we're talking Madabio and George Weah. That's what we're talking about here. When you go to the eastern region of Sierra Leone as we speak, there's electricity. It may not be 100%, but there's electricity in Sierra Leone. That's conditioned for development and growth. That's conditioned for industrialization. When you go to northern Sierra Leone, where the Timinis and the Lembas are predominant, there's also electricity. Okay, 85% at minimum in electricity. Sierra Leone is electrified 24/7. So Freetown is electrified 24/7. That's conditioned for development. The people can actually see the tangible. The people can see the future. He has connected all major roads. For example, there were no paved road from Bo to Liberia. He has created a very wide, I'm talking express quota from Bo all the way to a place called Jendema, which you might consider Bo waterside. Okay.
And he did that in 5 years, right?
He done that in these 5 years. He also has built a road from Guinea border, from the Guinea Sierra Leone border, up to the northern region of Sierra Leone. He has spread that road. There was no quota. He opened it up, put new quota, in fact, built new road in that area. Sierra Leone, as we speak, has better security atmosphere. The police have a rapid response unit that functions. In Sierra Leone, every township headquarters has ambulance and district head of medical office. In Sierra Leone, under Madabio, he introduced the community nursing program, where you go under government program and go through nursing training, and when you're done with the nursing training, you serve the government. Sierra Leone is functional under Madabio. Yeah, people talk about economic crisis. There will be economic crisis because it's not a wealthy country, but people can see the potential of going far. That's what put him on the edge. It didn't put him on the military didn't put him on the edge. The police didn't put him on the edge. Now compare that to Liberia and the CDC. What in those words can you look at and say this is what's going to put George Weah on the edge? I mean, give George Weah an edge. What? Show me one thing. There was a road from Monrovia to Habel that was reconditioned by the Unity Party. He broke it up. I just left Liberia in April. He destroyed the whole road. The road from Monrovia now to Habel. Let me tell you this: the road from Buchanan to Riverside City is the same as the road from Monrovia now to Habel. That's how the boy damaged the road. This kind of man. So it's just nothing to compare. We can't compare the two people. I can list hundreds of things that Mother Bio have done in 5 years, and have created a condition, right? The compact grant. For 5 years, Mother Bio has won it. Okay? So we can't, there's nothing there. But all in all, we know we're going to have a free and fair election. We know that we have done it. We've done it 2020. Credit to the National Elections Commission. We also done a few months ago in local counties where we know there were a few little skirmishes, but it is a part of the process. Nothing is perfect. All in all, it will be free and fair, just like Saturday.
Thank you. Mr. Morris.
Mr. Kamara, let me ask you a question before I even get to my
don't
point.
ask me nothing.
No, I must ask you a question. I must ask you a question. What part of Sierra Leone does your family come from?
Uh-oh.
No, I want to know. I asked you that question for a strategic review.
Okay.
Please tell me.
I have a background from a place called Yenema, and it's a place called Daru. My grandfather was a king of that entire region. As for Wakari Samba. Is
it in the south or in the north?
East.
Okay, and that's where Mother Bio's hold is, right?
Not necessarily. Mother Bio
in the south and in the east.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let me get to my point. You know, when I asked the question about Dr. Samara Kamara, I asked that question because Samura Kamara. I asked that question because I wanted Edward Amara to make some parallels to JMB. Here is a man who have a wealth of experience, has all the education, but he's failed his country. He served as Ben governor, served as foreign minister, finance minister. You know, he failed the country when he was in power. This man who has a PhD in developmental economics couldn't develop nothing. That the country people were saying like, but he couldn't develop nothing in Sierra Leone. So when you bring somebody like JMB, let's put some parallels between those two people. Let's make some parallels. When you bring somebody like JMB, who people are talking about, he have all the experience, he's serving government for so long, but he has nothing to show for it. That's why this guy is not resonating with the people in Sierra Leone, because he may have the experience, he may have the education qualifications, but he didn't do anything in his time in power. Matter of fact, the country was in a dismal state. Look at, for example, the guy talk about the rice price. In Sierra Leone, a bag of rice is $35. What's the price of rice in Liberia? Our staple food. And people in Sierra Leone eat the same food we eat mostly. Rice and
was it a 50
stew.
kilo or 25 kilo? He didn't specify.
My man, the man said price of rice, bag of rice in Sierra Leone is $35. What the price of rice in Liberia? So when you there's a saying, a prophet is not loved.
That's a good question, though.
You're getting my chance to land. Let the man land.
Give my chance. Let me land. A prophet is never appreciated or loved in his own home country. When people like Kamara and Gay, they will be waxing poetic about Mara Bio. You're not even in the poor country to know how the people suffering. People went on the street to protest economic suffering. People died. Police killed people. That was a few months ago when there was police killing people in the street of Sierra Leone, and we saw it. So when you try to compare it to Liberia and you think that Sierra Leone is better than Liberia because you perceive Liberia to be the worst country, you're dreaming. Many people in Sierra Leone would rather live in Liberia right now.
America better than Liberia.
Yes, we can say that, but don't compare Liberia to Sierra Leone, because you're not there. You don't know the hardship that the people are going through. The economic crisis in Sierra Leone is worse than it is in Liberia. You don't even know that.
Really?
But yes, it is. People are desperate to get economic relief. They go on the street. They put their life on the line just so they can get some redress for the economic plight. And when we're looking at somebody like Anthony Gay saying that the guy's a better communicator, that communication that people eat, the people suffering and dying for hunger, you're talking about he's a better communicator. That makes him a better leader. That makes him a better leader than George Weah. Come on, man. You got to love your own country first. Forget about Sierra Leone. Let's look at Liberia. Liberia is better in a lot of ways than Sierra Leone.
The president don't speak.
Who the senior member of the government that got killed?
Mr.
Who the senior member of the government that got killed?
At the time, gentlemen, please. This is not necessary. Let's be respectful.
Yeah, this guy's making statements. Senior member of the government got killed, and the president didn't say anything. You want the president to interfere in everything in the court system like Tubman used to do. Go sit down in the court and look at the judge so the judge can rule the way he wants it to be. The president has been relaxed when it comes to judicial matter and let the justice ministry take hold of justice in the country. The president is not somebody who has his tentacles in everything in the country. That's his leadership style.
Mr. Morris, something he raised there that I want you to comment on, and I'll go to Mr. Gibman here. He talked about the whole campaign thing being banned because of fear of violence, and that it has been the history of free time that during campaign time, when the other party is having an event and when they are carrying on their political messages, their opponent may not be satisfied, be thrown stone, and then violence will erupt. Because of that fear, they cancel out campaign, which is a major thing in election politics. What do you make of that? Should we do that in Liberia? I think Liberia has been doing okay.
That's my point. I think you agree with me on that point, Mr. C. That's why that's the thing I'm trying to draw here to these guys. Liberia is a free country relative to some of the other countries in our region. Can you imagine if George Weah said no campaigning because there has been scrimmages of violence here and there? You know what will happen in that country? What people will say? But the people in Sierra Leone, people like Anthony Gay saying that was a good thing that he did for the country to suspend campaigning because it was in the best interest of the country. That president Weah do something like that. See what they will say about him. He's a dictator. The people from the Southeast is this. The people from the Southeast is that. No. My point here is that Sierra Leone democracy is not as fair as the democracy we have in Liberia. Will never suspend campaigning. He has never been a dictator. He's never taken anybody rights away when it comes to campaigning and freedom of speech. But they're doing that in Sierra Leone. The same man you praising, he's doing that in Sierra Leone. So let's look inward.
If I may, Mr. C, he indicated me in comment just now.
Yes, and I think you should answer the question he asked. If President Weah were to say, well, I fear that there may be violence, so we will not have campaign. Will you say the same thing you said, that was a good decision on the part of the people of Sierra Leone by Marabio, by the way, because that was his decision?
So if we have had history where campaign events have been attacked on multiple fronts, where we see
let me give you that history. Let me interrupt you to give you that history. Tell our year time, there was violence.
Yes.
I think it was District 13 when
District 15.
District 15 is telling you there's in the looking time.
And then District 10.
So District 13, I believe, I'm not sure, but it gotta be District 13 or so, right? There was another violence, right? So we have to. So is that enough reason to think that we shouldn't have campaign?
Isolated, man.
No,
I'm just asking questions. Ali, don't jump on the floor like that. Go ahead.
So those two, very great point that you made just now, Mr. C. But those two were not as brutal as the circumstances that have been recorded in Sierra Leone.
And to add to that, there was a time Darius DeLong and the representative of Ninkru Town, what's his name? Sibo. They had
this is Sibo. And
DeLong had a podcast at the time. That was what even prompted DeLong when he went live with that outburst when he said, they would take the fire to President Weah's house. He had an outburst because of that event. So there have been, some of those violence happening.
Let's quantify this thing here. Let's look at the population of Sierra Leone. And most often, Sierra Leone, circumstances always resort to life being lost. Our circumstances was intense. No life was lost. With the circumstances with Tila Yue and the one that happened in District 13, and even the one DeLong had a podcast. We never have a life lost.
Okay.
The circumstances in Sierra Leone, more than 10, 15 people's life was lost in different circumstances, right? So that was a bold move that benefited the country. If you are preserve for life, I mean, you may find it funny, Herbert, it's up to you. That's your opinion.
It's martial law, pretty much. It's martial law, no, and that's not beneficial for the country anyway.
Morris, please let him speak.
Give me the opportunity. Let me land now, right? Can we say President Weah, who decriminalized free speech, in the same week he went to Dupo Road when they dedicated at one of the markets around that area and said, anyone who insults my man will not go free. That's the president of the country. The man who has the bullet pulpit takes the microphone and say, anyone who insults my man will not go free.
Yeah, he said, yes, that words will not walk free.
Well, Correct. So that's what.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Mhm.
Right. So let me just say this: President Weah himself may not even go and touch anyone, but if that word has come from your mouth, you the president of the nation, your lieutenant, people who are diehard for you, will do crazy stuff. Look, what really helped Liberia up to this date is because most of the Liberians want peace. We are sick and tired of what we went through for 14 and a half years of civil war. And after that, Ebola came. And after that, we had this COVID and other different things, especially with Ebola. And then people have resolved to say, you know what? Violence is not our way. But in most instances, Anthony, the government tried to provoke the ordinary citizen. If a president who decriminalize free speech goes on national television or Facebook podcast, what that was broadcasting live around the world, and says things that if you cross my mind, you will not walk free. That is crazy. Right. If that does not scare you, I don't know what will scare you, Elvis.
Please give me 15 seconds. 15 seconds, please. That Adebayo guy in the Netherlands who cursed the president, who is inciting violence. You know what the Sierra Leone people did? They're sending a request for an extradition back to Sierra Leone. Take somebody that D-Flow who cursed President Weah, who can go Liberia and come back and forth. They don't arrest him. So what are you saying? You don't even understand the society in Sierra Leone. They want to arrest people who are descending on the government. They want to arrest that guy because he's saying insinuating things. You see Henry Costa causing the president going to Liberia, sitting down there for months. Nobody hammocking him. So you can't say it's the same thing in Sierra Leone. Liberia is way freer than Sierra Leone if you don't know that. I just want to make that point.
All right, thank you. Let's bring in Mr. Gilman.
Thank you. Mr. Gay is a walking contradiction. Mr. Gay and Mr. Kamara, they are in denial.
That's all right.
And we will need to put this in a historical context. How can Mr. Gay stay here and say they have not, we can quantify that there have not been too much violence in Liberia in our campaign when the CDC headquarters was raided and people were killed? How can you say that in 1979 during the Monroe campaign?
Mr. Gilman, did you say people were killed? People?
Yes.
People were killed.
Yes.
People? How many people?
How many people?
Several people were killed.
One person.
One person was killed. How people were killed?
Okay, even
I know of one person died.
Okay, fine. If one person lost his life,
people were shot. Multiple people were shot.
Listen.
You gotta get that lie with confidence.
Oh, wasn't the CDC camp? Wasn't the CDC headquarters raided? Weren't people shot? Weren't people killed? This is why the police chief was made to quit and fired and resign immediately. 1979, the election, the mayor election between Sawyer and Houghton. Before that, culminated with the protest of the power movement when the police moved in. That April 14, all of these are history. Before that, on the third month, the Colemans were killed. Mr. Coleman and his son were murdered because they were putting together a campaign to unseat the president. And it goes all the way back.
Parallel circumstances.
Excuse me, there you go. Now you want to come out here now and give it some credence of
let me help this situation quick, man. Give me 5 minutes.
No, please give me a chance to speak, Mr. Kamara.
Historical content, you want to now sanitize it. We shouldn't do this. You were right here recently when Dylan said, when we are going to carry guns, and if we hear guns, he will not know where guns come from. We will attack the president. All of these things you're calling freedom of speech, and then the president said, if you cross my mind, you will not go free, which is also his freedom of speech. And you saying he said it, he's automatically guilty. Now let's go back to the election in Sierra Leone. We use this and we say, if your Christmas is going to be good, you will know it on the eve of the Christmas. In this case, we were using the Sierra Leone context to make a supposition that what happens in Sierra Leone is going to happen in Liberia. Now, let's look at one thing here. The gentleman said the reason the most qualified man, the most educated man in Sierra Leone is not being looked at is that he served in the previous government and the government failed. And he has served for 10 years in that government and he has nothing to show. So the people in Sierra Leone looked at him as not a person of new ideas. If I were in the UP, I would be thinking, listen, this man served 10 years and they kick him to the curb. For those of us that work that served 45 years, he is pathetic. He said here that the ban campaigning, period. Our Constitution guarantees the freedom of movement and freedom of speech. Nothing can take those things away. They are constitutional matter. For that to happen, there has to be a national referendum where the people, but the president cannot just get up and ban this. This is bad news. This is bad news.
Why it work for them?
For those.
But it work for them. Well, you president and then you say that good president might work for them.
Listen, Mr. 7%. When we are talking here, we talk one at a time. We are talking, the gentleman said $35 to $40 is a bag of rice in Sierra Leone. And yet the people are saying that we may not blame the president. We got to look at the whole economic situation in its totality. We should look at the COVID-19 that came in so he got into power. We should look at the war. We should look at climate change. Then he says here, Liberia has 5 million people. We got 31 political parties. Sierra Leone has 8.2 million people, and they have 13 political parties. 13 political parties. So we are talking about another society that is a total political animal, not Liberian. Everybody is political per se. So when you look at some of these things we are doing, when you're talking about TED Talk, like he went on TED Talk and Bill Gates came and infused the economy. If Bill Gates did all of this, and the inflation, according to the IMF, today is 31%. And Liberia went from 30% to 7%. It is written on the wall, my friend. The man said, rose, rose, rose. It's the same thing we are saying in Liberia. When I looked at it, I'm saying to this, if this guy coordinated with George Weah or he stole our mantra, my friend, if your Christmas is going to be good, you know it on the eve from what we see in Sierra Leone. George Weah is going to be re-elected. Mr. 41 year in government, you're going to be retired. The reason you are sick, like Prince Johnson said, because you got a bad heart. Thank
you, Mr. Jimmy. Jimmy, are you with us?
That Jimmy coming.
Yeah, Mr. Eastman, we look at the situation in Freetown. You know, the events, that happened there prior to the voting, and now Marabio is, being viewed as the one leading. Our reporter said it's more than likely he's going to win in the first round with the required 55%. When we look at Liberia, is there something that we can draw a parallel to say, well, this is more than likely George we had to win, given that we don't have a unified opposition, and he we have been the president, has been doing little projects here and there. Manabio did a lot of projects that people are pointing to. A lot of people are not blaming him for the economic situation. They say, well, we have Ebola, Ukraine, and many other things. So what can we draw from there, looking at our upcoming election, Jimmy?
Okay, very good. How is my audio? You guys hear me loud enough?
Loud and clear. And Jimmy, I wish you had your phone in landscape. We don't like to see that black spot, around you.
Oh, let's see if I can do something about that. How about now?
Yeah, so just scoot by a little bit so that we can see your 6 spots and then your nice glasses. Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. So I think we were looking at, can we draw some similarities from what's going on in Sierra Leone and us?
Right.
I think we're very different. There are some similarities, but we're very different. The similarities I've seen, a lot of the politics there is individualistic. It's not ideological. And that's where the political maturity will come. Because when you believe in a set of ideas and principles, and all people get around you because of the ideas and the principles and the policies that they support, then you become a party. Or if people only going around you because of your individual charismatic appeal, then as soon as that individual disappears, so does the party. So in that sense, where we have a lot of individualism in our politics, and not ideological and philosophical coming together of people to form a political union. So that is one thing. But also, as you notice, he did mention that Sierra Leonean is predominantly Muslim. And so that is another effect all by itself. In African politics, we see tribalism, and also religion is part of how they vote. We see that in Nigeria. We see that in several other countries. The religious composition of the population makes up a difference. So, being that they're predominantly Muslim, they will tend to vote in certain ways. Whereas in Liberia, we're more Christian, so that takes on a different character in itself. I believe.
Are you suggesting that most of the Muslim population that will be voting for Bill, is he a Muslim?
Yeah, they will. The Muslims tend to align.
But Dr. Kamara is a Roman Catholic. Dr. Kamara is a Catholic.
Huh?
What was the question? The opposition is a Catholic. He's a Roman Catholic. So
Mother Bill is Catholic.
That's why I'm saying that the Kamara is also a Catholic. So
Bill, according to Alio, Bill is not Muslim. So I don't know what the point you're making there is that, well, if one of the candidates is a Muslim, more than likely the Muslim population going to vote for him.
They will vote in a blue. The Muslims will vote in a block. This is what I'm trying to say. If the Muslims decide that they will support Bill, then that's what they will go.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
But then that makes sense to me. Not necessarily that he has to be a Muslim, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The Muslim block. So in Liberia, what we're seeing right now is we have somebody, an incumbent, okay, and some people are disappointed with the performance, and we have an elderly politician who's been in the system very, very long. So if the people looking for an alternative, he may be appealing to them because he's been in the system long. But our analysis, just how we voted for President Weah, is not based on necessary a critical examination of the candidate. It is a wishful examination.
But Jimmy, the major point here is that in the Sierra Leone election, the opposition bloc did not come together. And that is another factor in addition to Bio's own leadership achievement, for which the Sierra Leonean people are preferring him, if what we are hearing is actually true. So the fact that in Liberia, the opposition up to this point, we don't have that opposition bloc holding together in unison, is there reason to think that we may have an edge as Bio is having an edge? But
definitely, we will win because of the lack of solidarity in the opposition. We is almost likely we will win. The opposition is coming up, making some grounds, but their disunity has given a clear path.
Jimmy, you are too definite there. Let's bring another point here. Let me bring another point to you. Then I bring Aleo in so he can play defense here. That's what he's good at. The opposition APC leader, he was a finance minister. He was economic minister. He served in so many capacities. He's popular. He has so much experiences. According to Evans, he holds a PhD in developmental economics. One would think that's the guy to go to because of the experience. Just as people are saying, Ali is saying, let's go to Bwaka because he has the experience. LMPC, FPRC, Ministry of Agriculture, and he will go on and name it on and on and on. So this is a guy, if what we're hearing is actually true, he may not win. The new guy, the guy who is in power now is more likely to win. So my question here is that our election, we will not be looking at experience. We will be looking at who is doing better and who is doing better in our country right now, the opposition or the leading party.
Is this still going to me?
Yeah, Jimmy, I want you to learn your thought there, please.
You know, those I think those are incidences that don't really show a trend.
Mhm.
It just shows something that just is incidental. I believe Sierra Leone. What is motivating them? They have some elders in the various groups, like I told you, the Muslim groups. And whatever those elders and imams decide to send their vote, that's where it's going to happen. That's where it's going to dominate over there. Whereas in Liberia, we don't we don't have that. We don't have a wise group. We have some chiefs with some village from some community leaders that will help drive people to a certain direction. But just like you said, the opposition had their lack of unity, and so that gives the incumbent party a stronghold because of the lack of unity there. They will eat each other up.
All right.
That's how I look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. The point
Yes, sir.
about experience, because that is your greatest weapon here that you are using. No, this man is so much experience. We're talking about the APC guy in Sierra Leone, and things are not going his way as reports suggest. You think it will go Buaka's way this time?
Well, first of all, there was an argument that wasn't really dissected or wasn't laid to rest
Please lay to it.
about political conflict or campaign conflict,
Mhm.
and we try to compare that to what happened in Liberia. Remember, though Sierra Leone on the surface has 13 political groupings, but there are two political parties that are actually in the election.
Okay.
The SLPP, and the other one. Now, the
APC.
way Sierra Leone stuff is working is that whenever there is an election, a general election, these two political parties, not the government, these two political parties get involved in violence. And this violence is not taking place in the government seats mostly. This violence is taking place across the entire Sierra Leone. You understand the difference?
Yes.
Compared to somebody in a representative election, and there's 100 people on the side, and there's 45 people on the side, one person get wounded. It's not to be compared. What we're talking about in Sierra Leone is national security issue. What you're talking about in Liberia is conflict, misunderstanding. So those are two different things. In any case,
So Liberia is better in that regard.
That's correct.
Right.
well,
Right. Go ahead, admit it.
No, let
again,
him explain his scenario.
it depends on who's listening and what they want to take out of what I'm saying. Okay, the two countries have a lot of cultural similarities, but have a lot of political differences. When it comes to politics, they see things a little more different. Some people are more compassionate, like the Sierra Leone, compared to the Liberian. Liberian are more rational to do political campaign than the Sierra Leonean, because Sierra Leone go with their emotions when it comes to that.
So Liberia is better in that regard as well.
Okay. I think this is becoming a little elementary.
Okay.
The deal, you keep taking me off my watch.
Yeah, Evans, I don't like when you do that, man. Let us not do that here.
Sorry. I won't say. I won't interrupt. Sorry.
Okay, so the deal here is we don't expect that George Weah will come out and say, "Oh, you do X, Y, Z, we'll do X, Y, Z," or "You shouldn't do X, Y, Z," because there's no room for that. There's no reason for that. But in any case, this tells you how much authority Mada Biho has on his security, on his country. That shows you that Mada Biho is a better leader. First of all, as George Weah said today in Liberia, there's no campaign. Nobody will even listen to him. That's the first thing you must know, because nobody respects him. So those are two different things. But let's come to the experience issue here. If we want to compare this to Liberia and Sierra Leone, let's compare the two, because these two countries are intertwined, regardless of whether we like it or not. Mada Biho and Samora Woloko, Samora, let me not say Woloko, sorry, and Samora Kamara.
Kamara.
All right? Samora Kamara has performed, all right, rather dismally. He has performed. The people of Sierra Leone have seen him perform. It wasn't that long ago, it was recently. And Mada Biho has performed. And then they compare the two. Who has performed more compared
Please
to the
qualify
other?
the performance, because you're getting people confused. You're using the word perform only.
But we're speaking in terms of development. We're speaking in terms of the economy, right? Okay, the economy. When Samura Wolokole, what do I have to say? Wolokole? Samura Kamara and his government at the time, people in Sierra Leone know how difficult life was at the time. They know. They know they never had electricity. They know there were no signs of running water, except for the fact that he took one quota to the in one region. As far as the people are concerned, things were difficult. Now, this is Madabio's term. The people are comparing the two infrastructure development, the two economic growth. They compare the two, and they look at the whole thing and say, Madabio is doing well. And by the way, the $35 they're talking about for rice is the 50-pound bag of rice in Sierra Leone.
Thank you.
Not the 25 pounds. Now, in Sierra Leone, the people do not only eat rice. Rice might be the staple. They don't only eat rice. I'm in connection with Sierra Leone, and I'm on the phone all the time with Sierra Leone. I got a large portion of my family who are Sierra Leonean. So I know what's happening in Sierra Leone on a daily basis.
Including you.
You understand? I know what's happening in Sierra Leone on a daily basis. I have an animal farm there, so I know what's happening there. And the goat that I go in the local villages and buy for $25 US, those goats are sold in Liberia for $150. So there's a big difference. But let's look at George Weah and Joseph Boakai in terms of performance and who has delivered, who has the competence, who has the know-how. Those are the two things you gotta look at here. The Liberian people will look at
what. Let me interrupt you here. I'm the moderator.
You're not gonna introduce yourself. Just go ahead.
I'm almost a Jesus here. I can be Jesus. But the point I'm making about Madabio performance, and that's a key point. I asked you a question earlier. The road talk about being built during Madabio administration, was it built in 5 years? And you say yes.
Yes.
Now you always inform us that Boakai is a better leader. But in 12 years, the road to Lofa was not built. So looking at those two, should the Liberian people look Boakai's way as the Sierra Leone people are looking Madabio's way? Because this is a man who built a road.
Let me have something to say, Lord.
Road in 12 years. Go ahead.
Madabio is president of Sierra Leone. Madabio appoints the finance minister and the public works minister of Sierra Leone. They take direct instruction from Madabio. In fact, Madabio is a vision bearer of Sierra Leone at this particular time. It is his vision that they go by. The finance minister of Sierra Leone is an implementing arm of the government, right? The vice president of Sierra Leone, this Fula man, just forgotten his name, you can't hold him for what Madabio didn't do. Now let's go to Joseph Boakai and your road. Vice presidents do not appoint finance ministers. They do not appoint public works ministers. They do not give the blueprint for where road can be built or what happens. So we can't compare it. There's nothing to put together. Joseph Boakai has not served in the role of telling the public works minister to say, look, this is the agenda. This road must be built. He does not have the authority. In fact, the public works minister does not even have to say hello to the vice president. Got no dealing with the vice president. You understand?
Can I respond to Mr. Kamara, please? Give me 30 seconds.
Everybody's be
Yes, Mr. Kamara, let me just tell you this. When you talk about, which country is better, right? If you look at the HDMI, the Human Development Index, or the HDI, Liberia is ranked 178. Sierra Leone is ranked 181. That tells you that we are developing. Our HDI is better than Sierra Leone. That's how you can kind of generalize the well-being of citizens in the country. So that's my man. The point I'm trying to tell you guys is you all hate Liberia so much that you think that Liberia is the worst country in West Africa. That encompasses a lot of things. So the point that I'm trying to give you here, my man, I feel making my point. I feel making my point there. We're talking numbers and ranking. Right? We're talking numbers and ranking, so I'll leave it there. But let me get to this other point. Mr. Kamara, you said something here, and I'm very glad you said it because I'm proud of President Weah after you made that statement. You said that Matabio security apparatus respects him, and when he says something to do it. That's not respect. That's called no. That's called authoritarianism. President George Weah is not a dictator. He's not somebody who's going to make pronouncements and everybody, in the whole country becomes stiff like the Doe used to do with his decrees. President Weah is not a dictator. He's a constitutionally elected president, and he respects our constitution. So he's not going to make any proclamation that nobody should go out so and so time, and everybody sit down in the house like Doe and the military junta used to do. So I think in that case, President Weah is better because he respects our civil rights in our country. He's not going to take any dictatorial stance to deprive the people of the rights. He's not doing that. So when these same people that cry against President Weah and say, people been dying in the country, the country not safe, but they're praising another country for showing dictatorial tendencies, yes, you listen keenly. Because when Joseph Boyka comes in, you saw what happened on the closing argument. Jeremiah Cohen refused to go there because somebody said something that they didn't like. These people are intolerant. President Weah has shown a lot of tolerance to every side of the spectrum in Liberia when it comes to politics.
When will he appear on
People
the
cause him
platform?
People talk. Say that again.
When will President Weah appears on the platform focus on Liberia?
Go ask him that question. His style of leadership is different, but he respects civil rights. He respects civil rights. He knows his strengths and he knows his weaknesses. But he's not a dictator. Go ahead, Mr. Gayman.
Mr. Gay.
No,
Mr. Gay, listen.
My man, let me ask a question, please, Anthony.
Mr. Gay, let me your point of correction. There's a difference between declining to appear and agreeing to appear and don't appear. Once you agree
and send out a memo and barring everybody else from appearing.
That's correct. Once you agree to appear, you have the courtesy and the decorum. You have to appear. You can't say you appear. Then 30 minutes before appearing, you call and say, we will not appear and nobody from our camp will appear. But let me go to Mr. Kamara, what he said here. Mr. Kamara, you say Marabio has a vision and everybody carries a vision. And Joseph Boyka was in government for 12 years on Ellie. So you are telling me because he did nothing, that means Ellie didn't have any vision. Why are you still attacking Ellie? If you say the vice president has a vision because he's working because he is the vision of the president he's carrying on. But before Ellie came in, this man was Minister of Agriculture. He's talking about agriculture, farming, feeding ourselves. He was the head of agriculture all his life. And today we don't even grow an edible. Then he's coming back now, and had the audacity, this 105-year octogenarian sit over there and tell us that this time around he will pave all the roads in Liberia in 90 days.
He didn't say that.
I am saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, the old man has lost the marbles. He doesn't know where he's coming from, where he's at. Somebody may be writing something. It is so ridiculous. In fact, the maritime minister came and said when Joseph Boyka was vice president, he said, I was minister of youth and sport, youth and sports, and I reported directly to the vice president. The president of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, put two critical ministries under direct supervision of Joseph Boyka, the Ministry of Youth and Sport, and the Ministry of Gender. And we reported to him directly. And every recommendation, everything, in fact, he slept most of the time and implemented nothing. And
all right, gentlemen. That's true. That's true, Mr. Gayman.
And then Boyka admitted that we had 12 years of $18 billion and we squandered. We squandered. We wasted, including me, Vice President. I was a park car. He said I was a park car for 12 years. You can't keep a race car in a park.
Let's focus on the discussion.
No, but this is.
Can we move to the next segment, Mr. Sia? Let's move to the next segment, please.
Mr. Gay, I'm talking facts here. Now you were power for 12 years.
Mr. Gayman, thank you. Thank you. We heard your sermon.
let me
You
land.
know your sermon very well
Let me
on
land.
Baka.
But you already landed.
Let me land real quick. He said he was power for 12 years, and then
You
Joe
make a
Biden
cry,
been
man.
for another 12 years. So he been power for 18 years. 18 will never stop.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gilman. Mr. Gate, please, your point
Yeah,
there.
I need
So
to
we can
comment
go
on
to the
the
last segment
subject
of the
before
discussion.
we proceed. So I heard my dear brother Elvis and Mr. Gilman, talking about they're struggling. Even rice price so high. The rice price, if it's $35 for 100 pounds, which is 50 kilograms, 25 kilograms right now in Liberia is $22. You add two of it, that's $44. So your 100 pounds is more expensive in Liberia than Sierra Leone. That's point of
Where you get that number from? Is the 50 kg? Where you get it from?
Where you get that number from?
I am telling
Yeah,
you
where
that.
you getting it from?
Let me pull it
I
up.
am
Oh, because you share it on your truth? Because you share it on your stream, Mr. Kamara?
Please,
Please quote. Let's pull it up.
Mr.
gentlemen, please, one at a time.
These guys, right? Wholesale is $17, $18. Retail is $20, $22, right? For 25 kg in Liberia. If you add 25 kg, that's 50 kg. That's the 100 pound of rice in Sierra Leone for $35. So Sierra Leone is cheaper than Liberia. Another fact here, hold on, my brother. Don't hijack me. You have a time. The MCC, the Millennial Challenge Compact, Sierra Leone won it 5 years in a row. CDC failed 5 years in a row. What you have to say about that? You talk about, you bragging about inflation. You got jacked up the number to make it good as it is, but it does not reflect the society. So you got 7% inflation rate. Guess what? You can't pass the Millennium Challenge Compact for 5 consecutive years. Sierra Leone have passed it 5 years and they gotten that money 5 times. You understand?
But if people still dying for hunger, they push their suffering.
No, hold on. Look at the population.
Don't say hold on.
Got 5 million, they got 8 million plus, almost 9 million people in Sierra Leone. Slow down. You understand that? So when you're talking, you gotta compare apple to apples, orange to orange. Although they are all fruits, but they are very unique in each category. You understand?
Thank you. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll go to the final segment of the show, and then we'll start taking our calls. Folks, we are back with you. The final segment of the show will be on this Gloria Musso-Scout case that is ongoing. We understand she's behind bars now. She was even denied bail. What is going on in Liberia when it comes to justice under the CDC government? Is justice being selective? Is the CDC government selective? Let me give a few scenarios. Cabinet Janan, as a sitting associate justice, were accused of doing something. The CDC government acted, and they booted him out of power. Though he won the case at the ECOWAS court, he's yet to receive what was ordered based on the ECOWAS court's ruling. That's one. We also know Nathaniel Mange was accused by the U.S. government. He's a free man in Liberia. The CDC government never acted to investigate him, even though it promised to do so. Gloria Musso-Scout, she's not in a political line with the CDC government. She has been accused, and now she's behind bars. There are other people in government who are being accused. For example, the current head of the National Election Commission was indicted by the LACC. The CDC government will not act. Now, when we look at a man called the United Party or candidate for Lofa County, former defense minister, somebody help me with his name here.
Bernie Samuka.
Bernie Samuka
Bernie Samuka was also accused He was investigated, and the CDC ensured that he went to court because he was an opposition man. I mean, he should have gone to jail, but because of political reason, they went and pardoned him. Now, the picture I'm printing is if somebody is accused and the person is on a different side politically with the CDC will act. But when a person is in line with them politically, they will not act. Is this the justice? That is the case with Gloria Mususka today. Our understanding is that she has been providing legal services, I think, for the Unity Party behind the curtains. And so now that she's being accused, this has been a perfect opportunity for CDC to show its muscle politically using the court. Is this what it is? And the other point is that given the fact that Gloria Mususka is being accused, she's going through the legal system. People are crying, mostly people on the opposition side. So this is not fair. It begs the question, are we Liberians actually ready for the war crimes court? Because this is somebody who's being accused, the government is acting, and we are all crying. Why? Why Gloria Mususka? You know, I mean, they say justice is blind, right? So let's look at it too. And for that, we'll start with Jimmy. Jimmy has interest.
Very good. You know, I'm telling you, the main thing I see about this case is that there's too many mistakes and blunders being made. All right. Okay. My understanding as the crime scene was not protected. So in other words, to establish what actually happened that day, the investigators have a problem. All right. After that, I noticed that they have yet to establish a motive. Or any murder, they said it's conspiracy. Now, is there conspiracy to plan a murder, or is there conspiracy to cover it up? I believe, if anything, they're trying to accuse them of conspiracy to cover it up. So, in other words, you have only circumstantial evidence. So, how can you prove murder on basically four persons on circumstantial evidence? Okay. Then we noticed that the way the case is, the courts where she was remanded, well, they didn't have jurisdiction over murder case, so they could not grant bail when bail was requested. They have to go to another court. So again, why are all these errors being committed? This is clearly a sign to me that they will lose the case simply because of the amount of errors that they've committed. Okay? No judge or jury, when you don't have evidence and when you've made several errors of not securing the evidence and carrying on a proper procedure for investigating the case, they will not find it. And to me, it's almost like this is intentional, just so that the case can be lost in the end. Because it's colossal errors by people who are supposed to be professional. Now, if it's not intentional, then we have to re-examine our whole police and their investigative methods, the whole national security system. Because we have several cases of people who have lost their lives. We know about the accountants. We know about different individuals. And we do not see a large percentage of these cases being solved and resolved. So whenever you notice that you're not succeeding, you need to sit back and re-examine yourself. What are we doing wrong? So this particular case, Anthony, it looks like they will lose it simply because they've approached it. I really believe in my inclination there was a domestic row that took place, and there is a non-admittance. But by introducing this burglar rising, that just to confound the issue. So it is just one of those cases they're going to lose, from what I see.
You're muted.
Thank you. I was trying to bring in, how everything is being politicized in Liberia, and how the government also tend to have interest in certain cases as it appears to be, right? If you look at the deaths of the auditors, I mean, the government carried on investigation. The government said they concluded investigation, but there was no one held liable, right? Even though we can all say people were murdered, they were murdered, and that is the fact. But the government showed no interest in finding the killers. All right, and now the government has found somebody who it thinks is responsible. This time, Gloria Mususka and I think three other family members, if I'm not mistaken, or two, and now they are in jail, and they can't even get a bail. So this thing is serious. When we look at that, my question is: given that people are divided, she could be guilty, all right. She could not. We were yet the argument in court when it finalized, but at least she's in jail for now. Why are people crying this foul, without looking at the merits of the case? And does that suggest that we Liberians, when it comes to the war crime coating that we want here, do we really want it? Or it depends on who goes to jail, then we want it, right?
Who's that for?
That's for you, Anthony.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. While I make my statement, if you don't mind, go through the comment, and Mr. Larry Kennedy put a very interesting statement out there. You can pin in the word so you guys can read it for themselves. He's a trusted mind when it comes to economy, and he's been on the platform before. I know you know Mr. Larry Kennedy. So you guys been comparing, Liberia and Sierra Leone economy. Let's speak to the issue. First of all, I want to look at the unprofessionalism that was displayed by the Liberian National Police, and I will talk about the political side of the whole case. Now, like Mr. Eastman said, once a crime as such is committed, the crime scene has to be protected. The crime scene has to be secure. The presentation of the matter has to be very done professionally, and the integrity of the investigation has to be tight. What we saw from the Liberian National Police is very, unprofessional. In some cases, they even indicted Madame Gloria Mususka before the case was even adjudicated. Some of the things that were said. Now, what I want to see here is to give the Weah-led administration to exercise her responsibility of adjudicating this case. Whether or not this case found somebody guilty or acquitted, it would not add any value to the justice system of Liberia or the Weah administration for various factors. President Weah from the pulpit in the Faklikon Church said it were boyfriend and girlfriend circumstances when those guys, the lady and the guy, got killed in the car, or when the body was found in the car. We saw the incident with the EPS officer in Nimba County. Nothing happened to that. We heard Senator Prince Johnson saying he know who shot the guy. The government investigative report says the man shot himself 3 times. If you shoot yourself for the first time in your head, you won't have the power to shoot yourself for the second time, neither the third time. That first bullet will blow your brain up because your brain carries the electricity in your body and that supply the entire body. How can you shoot yourself again for the second time or third time? It was now a semi-automatic weapon, right? But again, no one was held accountable for Odell Sherman's death. No one was held accountable for Princess Cooper's death, where there was CC camera footages, and this Leonean guy who owned the store, left the country so fast and all the different things. I mean, I am not a law enforcement officer, neither am I a lawyer, but a common sense individual like me will ask myself, why the government only have interest in certain cases? Are all Liberians protected under the law of Liberia?
And another one, Anthony, I'm not cutting you off. Anthony, another one I'm not cutting you off is the 3 missing boys.
Correct.
The fact is that St. Moses was the last person who spoke to them, who has even sent them when that incident happened. Now, I'm not saying because he sent them, he might have been responsible, but I don't know whether or not we concluded that case and whether the killers were formed to this day. I don't know.
Yeah. So again, for me, I don't hate President Weah. I don't have anything personal against him. But when you see national issues happening, and they will say, oh, but the president's style, Mr. Gaiman will say that the president's style, or my dear brother Evans, but the president's style, he don't have to speak on everything. But he has a time to throw jabs at those people, right? He goes on the pulpit and throw jabs. On the very cases that he will not speak on publicly, right? He throw jabs at those people. What does that say to you? If that was your sister or your brother or your relative, will you feel comfortable that your president of the Republic of Liberia will respond to circumstances like that, tragic circumstances like that? This is the kind of behavior that we all need to desist from as Liberians. I will hope one day that we all will put aside political parties and see individuals for who they are as citizens of Liberia, so that everyone can be treated fairly under the law. That's all we ask for.
And when you look at the jubilation that we see on the side of the CDC, when Janet was booted out, CDC celebrated. When Simon Katu was found guilty by the court, CDC celebrated. So these people want justice, right? But when McGill was indicted, nothing happened. We didn't see them celebrating. So where is the justice?
Let me end with this, Mr. Gaiman. Do you not trust the United States government that they bring an indictment on top government official, like the Solicitor General of Liberia, the chief prosecutor of the country, like the Minister of Presidential Affairs, right? I mean, you don't find that credible? They say we have evidence. There's a reason why we did X, Y, and Z. Why the government did not muster the courage to at least give these guys the due process and bring them to book? Give them the right to representation so they can have their own lawyers.
You see, Mr. Shea, this is why the ANC people have absolutely zero credibility when they're online, because they do not give reliable sources. They do not quote things that people can verify. There is no way, if you read a Mineski, I pull it up on your screen because you guys are very good at reading from the screen. It says that the allegations are not judicial. That means they do not have evidence. It's not evidentiary. It is political in nature.
What do you mean by allegation?
Let's see.
Hold on, Anthony.
Let the man talk, Anthony.
No, I want to ask, what does he mean by allegation and judicial? What does that mean?
Let's see. You
accuse people of wrongdoing. It may be a crime, right?
Let's see.
So it has to go to
Let him make a case, please, Mr. Shea.
The man said, and when you go to the Mineski, I go to the website. It says that we are not judicial. That means we do not present evidence. We don't put in the country for someone to be insane.
Hold on, Mr. Gaiman. That's what I'm saying. I see you say they are not judicial. That means they are not a court. Hold on, Mr. Gaiman. That is a key point. That's why I'm holding you. When they say we are not judicial, the Meniskis, they are saying they are not a court.
That's correct.
To investigate.
That's correct.
And to prosecute as a court would do. But they investigate, find evidence of wrongdoing, and then they lay it out to you. That means they are accusing someone of doing something.
But then it's up to that country.
Listen, guys. In the United States here, they have something said, an indictment. The American system can even indict a sandwich or ham sandwich. Indictment is an allegation. And the folks told you, they asked the ambassador, should McGill and those accused not run for office? He made it clear there is a judicial process in this country provided and guaranteed by the Constitution of Liberia. They have to go through the Liberian constitutional judicial process. On which they will determine whether they should run or not run. But if they have not been tried under the Liberian Constitution,
Mr. Gaiman, I get all you're saying. Mr. Gaiman, I get all you're saying. The point is an official of government. Hold on, Anthony. An official of government was accused of using his office.
That's correct.
And committed economic crimes, carry on wrongdoing.
It's an accusation.
Are saying they should not be looked into. The allegations should not be looked into.
Those are two different things. Because
that's what you are saying.
But that's what you're saying.
No, listen to this. Here we are. when these people were when they were accused, the Unity Party and the ANC was the first one that called a news conference and said, because they have been accused, they should be fired, they should resign. And today we have Prince White Johnson, who was also accused similarly. What did the ANC say now in their second life? They say until these people are found adjudicated and found guilty in a competent jurisdiction, they will be declared innocent. Until then, Prince Johnson is our man. This is the ANC double talking.
No.
That's not true.
Unity Party.
The ANC, it was Mr. When we asked
the ANC did what?
Listen, when we talk about Mr.
The ANC said that when it came to Louis Brown.
That's correct. That's correct.
To the rest of the folks that were Cummings.
Right, but not Prince Johnson.
No, listen. In fact, Prince Johnson was just alleged, but the ANC people, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, did the investigation and found these people to be liable, and they listed their crime.
They accused them or indicted them of economic crimes.
That's correct. And
not
only economic crime, but extrajudicial killing. We talk about Prince Johnson. We talk about these people that kill people. And they said it, but now the ANC
and Joshua did business with that very person, right? We are did business. The CDC, you are supporting their business with Prince Johnson, right?
Absolutely. But we did not make that clear. We didn't say clean hands. Those who were saying we are Mr. Clean Hands, we will not deal with anybody corrupt. We never made that claim because we knew everybody in our country.
Because you corrupt, right?
Let's see. Please give me my 1 minute. Please give me my time to respond.
No, let's come to Aliyu Kamara first. Mr. Kamara.
Everybody anytime somebody tell you what to.
Yeah. I will give my own turn.
Mr. Kamara, your turn, please.
Yes, sir. First of all, to answer your question, are we ready for a war crime court? My answer will be no. Do we want war crime court? Yes. Do we need war crime court? Yes. Are we ready for it? The answer again is no. And the reason why I gave that answer is simple. Most of the witnesses in some of these issues, some of these charges, they're dying. A lot of them are dead. Most of them are dying. And some of them, because it's been so long ago, they don't have perfect recollection of what happened. In order to adjudicate these people effectively, you must be able to prove the allegations. You must be able to prove the charges. You must have witness to back your claim. Who do we have out there that can really substantiatively defend or back whatever charge you put against someone? Another reason why we're not ready for war crime court is because the Liberian Constitution does not provide for statute of limitation when it comes to murder. And therefore, if the Liberian people were really serious about crime against humanity, they will still go to court against these people. The people are right there. If you can prove that someone killed someone, that person should be arrested, can be arrested. Well, I'm not talking about George Weah-led administration, but when there is a proper government, a government of accountability, a government that actually knows what it means to be a government, you can then walk to court with the evidences in your possession and actually sue these people. But you also, it was a double sword thing. You also asked a question about the double standard on the part of the CDC judicial process. They pick and choose who they can prosecute and who they stand for. It is true. Let's just look at the Bernard Samukai stuff. The same thing Bernard Samukai did is the same thing Samuel Tuah have just done with the Roe Fund. The only difference is Samuel Tuah was smart enough to incorporate the legislature in its crime. The road fund must absolutely be used only for road. He used that money to pay civil servants.
Yep.
That's misappropriation of public resource. That's what Bernard Samukai did. In Bernard Samukai case, the order came down from Ellen directly. Use the money for XYZ, we will replace it. When all was said and done, Joshua even went ahead and replaced some of the money in the tune of close to $500 million. I mean, $500,000.
$500,000. That is correct.
Yes, he went and then still went ahead knowing that this money was not money that Bernard Samuka embezzled. It was a dress by dress kind of situation. Since this place we have lapses here and we need financial situation here immediately, use the money here and government will refund it. He only implemented instructions.
In addition to that, because I read the code record, he also misappropriated some of the money for his personal use. He did that also according to the code.
Well, that wouldn't be misappropriation. If the code said misappropriate, then there's a different definition for misappropriate. Because when you use it for yourself,
you're not a lawyer, my man. The court interpret the law.
If the money was intended to be used for AFL and he took it, he bought clothes. What would you call it?
That's not misappropriation. That's embezzlement.
Well, that's your
term. That's not embezzlement. That's misappropriation. You didn't use it for the appropriate thing.
Yeah.
Mr. She, let me come in here, please.
So I'm still speaking, sir. I have not learned it.
Go ahead, Aliu.
Go ahead.
You will struggle. You see,
my boy Bloody was I need to say what I need to say.
Let me just say this. When we're discussing government finances, we have different words allotted for different actions. Misappropriation in the governmental setting is using money that was appropriated for this purpose, but you took it and used it for another purpose. That's misappropriation.
Which is what you did. Which is what Samuka did.
Hold on now, sir. When you take government money and use it for yourself, instead of all using the word stealing, we say embezzlement. That means you use it for a purpose that was entirely not governmental. So there's a difference between misappropriation and embezzlement. Evans, go ahead. Say the thing you want to say. Oh, yeah, for God's sake.
Thank you. Thank you for giving my time to me. Let me just say this. First of all, when you talk about Cabinet Johnny, right? He went in front of the Senate, the House of Representatives, which was not dominated by the CDC government. Based on the evidence of the case that was argued before the Senate by a former Solicitor General, the Senate found him guilty and impeached him. That was the appropriate forum for his case to be heard. The other those senators, the Senate can impeach. What are you talking about? The Senate is the one that the Senate can find you guilty. The Senate found him guilty, right? Then let's go to this Samuka case. This Samuka case didn't even start under George Weah administration. It was under the Leonean administration. And who took the case to the government? The soldiers, the very same soldiers, lodged their complaint against Samuka to the Ministry of Justice, and that's how they started investigating. It wasn't George Weah that brought the charges against Samuka, first of all. So when people are talking about, for example, Gloria Musu Scott, look at her record as a justice on the Supreme Court. She wasn't fair and balanced. When Charles Taylor sent those Bob Bala them, to jail, she doubled the sentence. Supreme Court is not it's not in the business of handing out sentences. They can only affirm or deny a judge's ruling if it's unconstitutional. But she added 5 years to those people, a sentence that Charles Taylor wrongly put on them. Somebody killed her dog, ate her dog doing the hardship in Liberia. She sentenced that person to 6 months in jail with his pregnant woman. Sentenced them to 6 months in jail. So I'm glad Mr. Eastman said that she will most likely lose, or the government will most likely lose this case. And that's a good thing, because it shows that this government does, we don't have a kangaroo court system where anybody that going before that court is going to be found guilty. So it's a possibility that justice will be in her favor, which is just what we want justice to be fair and balanced. In this case, I agree with Mr. Eastman. I think the overcharger, proving murder in that regard is very hard. And I think maybe manslaughter or conspiracy after the fact, would be something they can easily prove. But for me, I don't care whether this lady killed that girl or not. I don't care whether she's guilty or innocent. One thing I care about is that let her go through the appropriate steps so that justice will be served. And that's what the government is doing. So they're not witch hunting her. When people talk about the auditors or the accountants who died, what happened to Harry Greaves, who they said he drowned? a man who went for a meeting will go, go in the ocean or go swim and drown, and the phone stick up his butt? No. The point I'm making is that's the explanation that any administration gave us, that he drowned. That was the explanation, and you guys buy it. That a responsible man who went for a business. I mean, let me speak. A responsible man who went for a business meeting will go, neglect the meeting and go jump in the ocean or go swim, and then the phone stick in his honors. And that's the explanation that we accept from the alien government. Michael Allison from the Freeport, who died under mysterious circumstances. Well, what logical conclusion did that case come to? And we accept it. So if the government come and tell you that these people were having an affair, and that was the conclusion that the mayor and the president is only echoing that conclusion from the investigators, and you say it's unacceptable, go back to Harry Grieve and saying that he didn't drown. No. Go back to Michael Allison.
You are not accepting conclusion from investigation. So he said that even before the investigation.
Mr. Sia, if I may.
Yeah, please, so that we can go to the line.
These folks from the CDC camp come here and try to justify reason as to why certain things were done the way they were done, right? There is a clear parallel here with the circumstances of Bernie Samanka compared to Samuel 12. Took the road fund money to pay civil servants when it was intended for road fund. Samuel 12 were not held liable. Yes, this government here with the circumstances.
He didn't arbitrarily do it. He asked for permission.
Listen, man. We're not going to go back and forth. Don't interrupt me, say or interrupting you. Let me have my moment. So, here's the same government that President we are saying a man and woman doing boyfriend and girlfriend thing. You say the president will not meddle into the justice system, but the president is throwing jab as a serious case. People died mysteriously, and the president stood on the puppet, God puppet, where he's supposed to be God-fearing. And he's throwing jab when families are bleeding, grieving. There is the same president, his own protection guard, got shot in the head and it went in thin air. And you want us to sit here for you to come and lecture us? You want us to sit here for you to lecture us?
Listen, it was my time to speak before you give this.
Hold your peace. Assuming, please hold this guy in check, please. So this is the kind of behavior that you want to portray that, the president is everything you want to justify. President Weah is incompetent because he's not discharging the duty of his office adequately.
Thank you.
People, so here's the reason why I want to speak on the war crime code. Mr. Alexander Benedict Comey is the only aspiring candidate, presidential candidate, that is on record that said on day one, in the first 100 days, he will pass an executive order to appoint a special prosecutor to handle the war and economic crime code. He's not joking.
He said it now after struggling with that issue of war crime code for like forever, right? But he just said that is true. He said it, but imagine the time it took him, because I have asked Mr. Cummings and his answer was, well, when you talk about the war crimes code, he said the war crimes code means so many things to a lot of people. In fact, he was even making an economic argument that, look, if we fix the economy and everybody have job, the war crime code thing would not be the major thing. That's Mr. Cummings, but now he said he's going to appoint.
But now he has a bold plan to address that issue, and he's the only candidate with the guts to say it.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Gilman.
Listen, let us not fool ourselves here. The Liberian Constitution gives the exclusive authority of justice, court formation, to the legislature. No executive branch can form any court in Liberia. Don't let anybody come out here like the ANC does. They come out here and talk a lot of gibberish. The Constitution said the only body that can establish a court of law in the country is the legislature. And George Weah wrote them, gave them the authority to advise on how to go about, because that is no president. None.
Does the Constitution prohibit?
And Mr. Gilman, you have a good point there.
You are muting me. When I interrupted, you're not muting this man, Mr. Sia.
I'm asking a question.
Mr. Gilman,
the Constitution prohibit the president from appointing a special prosecutor?
Mr. Gilman?
Yeah.
Mr. Gilman?
Yes.
The legislature, you are right, has the authority to establish court in Liberia. The CDC controls the legislature as a political party. So if the CDC wants a war crime court, they can use the very legislature to establish it. In fact, the CDC can start using the very codes we have today to investigate the war crimes code that we're talking about. There is no laws that says that our current code cannot investigate any crimes because they were war crimes. So is the CDC serious here?
No, Mr. C. If that is the logic, let's look at it this way. Okay, you said CDC we control both houses, we have the majority, and we can do it, and you need a majority vote to do it. That being the case, how then with the ANC that has no representation, none in both houses, how could they pass such a law? This is a farce. ANC,
it can be done, Mr. Gilman. I'm not defending the
War crime court is a special court. It's a special court that must be established by the legislators.
We are talking about numbers here. To establish a court, you need numbers.
And human beings can create numbers.
Listen.
A court can be established by petition. It must be established through the legislature.
Yeah, but he said you were appointed a special prosecutor.
You see, you said you need a number. If the matter of number, it has to go through the legislative process. CDC has the majority, and CDC has failed to do so. How then can a person who has no number, because they never won any seat.
First of all, Mr.
They didn't win any seat.
Anthony.
Let's move on. The ANC joking, man. The 7% ain't going nowhere. This time around, they won't even
get it. You said 7%, but we are third nationally right now.
Thank you.
Please, let's take calls, please.
Mr. Gilman, yeah, we got to go to calls. Mr. Gilman making a point. The point here is that even if a party does not have majority in the House, it can lobby if it wants certain things to be done.
Thank you.
Not every party that gets elected gets the majority, but the party can also get certain things done by lobbying. All right, so that is how it's done. So if the CDC have high interest, it will do so, and it's not only with the CDC. So it can be a 1% party. When they get in there, they can lobby with the legislature.
1 minute if we go to the line. 1 minute.
Yeah, let's go to the lines right now. We have a caller that has been waiting.
Okay.
That caller is Livingstone. I think Flomo Livingstone. Please let us hear you.
Yeah, thank you guys. For the show. Great points from you guys. Except Albert Morris and Jerome Gilman just talking about the topics on that show. Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So when it comes to Malambier from Sierra Leone and Joya, there's no comparison. All right, don't compare Malambier or Joya, man. Why you guys doing that to the president of Sierra Leone, man? They're bringing the man down.
They are both presidents.
They talk about cheating the man. They talk about cheating the man. Joya having to do papa on that. So how will you compare? You see the airport right now, the forest, the update of the Sierra airport. They are creating new runway in Sierra Leone. I was just there in April when we started coming. So show me the new runway that Joey have been able to do.
I thought the CDC government completed the work at the airport.
Thank you. What are comparing that money?
The airport that don't have electricity.
Upgrade. Look at the road. The road is a mess. The way the people government, they only know how to destroy things. They don't know how to improve things. They are only trying to carry people backward instead of going forward. So I think why the CDC government do that. Now why you see all the guys like Cameron want to defend the CDC, they all go back. When the guy was talking about the president, all the pool they were doing in Sierra Leone, back the current president was leading every single pool to do radio, whatever you're leading. Look at the roads in 5 years time. So even the roads Joey have been in 5 years time. You can't be completely the local road out. The funding are already there.
So what's about the pools? The pools in Liberia, who has been leading for the most part?
Oh, that can't be. So you can't compare that. If Joey is going to be a one-term president. There's no way they met the type of destruction they met over our politics, man. It can even be seen.
So that comes to the other issue of justice. You know, looking at the Gloria Musu-Scout case and other cases that happen, the government seems to show interest in certain cases compared to others. What do you make of that?
Complete select. I think for me, it's a selective justice right there. All right. First of all, if you want to justice, I believe in justice. Everybody, no matter who the sender or type of the person is, if even a little child in the interior that is being brought up, they should have the justice. That's what I believe in. When I'm doing selective justice, I want people to say government is witch hunting. You got to put all the people like that, princess people like that, the city major boy, the EPS guy, like Anthony Gay was saying. It is impossible to shoot yourself 3 times in the head. There's no way. It makes no sense. No one can shoot themselves 3 times in the head. It's impossible. But up to today, they don't find anyone. The murder that just keep going on. The president hasn't come up to step up to tell the nation that, oh, this thing will make sure we'll put it under control. A leader, that's what a leader does. When the country they're looking for a leader, you should step up and show the people that whatever going on, you'll make sure you put it under control. But Joey, I know when Joey already told us he didn't want him to be president, I wouldn't want me president. So Joey got all the right. Me, I don't believe the man. The man that was voting. And I want to Joey that even want to be president. The man that is running campaign and the people running campaigns for him like all the better. Joey just said that. Joey already said the post that he want to be president, he will run the campaign, not me.
Thank you.
Joey want to be president. So now why came in and basically running campaign for the man.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
All right, let's go to Mr. Paul. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Fear. So first of all, every try to portray Mr. We are some kind of constitutionalist president, but for a very long time, just we had abused and Liberian people, right, just to peaceful protest. There were so many instances where the protesters were brutalized. Until the section came, and then all of a sudden the government, got quiet. Now you see, Sierra Leone and Liberia, even though we are the same, but we are different. Sierra Leoneans are built different. So when they take the street to protest, they're not running. We like brothers with we so peaceful to the point that we run from police. If you switch the two population, Joshua will not last 1 year in office. Even the Sierra Leoneans are going after Mr. Beard because maybe the expectation is higher than ours. So that's the reason why Joshua can do everything that he's doing and he's getting away with it. I bet you if he gave Mr. Beard to us, we'll be far more happier with him than what we are experiencing right now in Liberia. But again, the party and the CDC, there's no option for Liberia right now. We are moving to the century, and Jonathan Cummings is the only person right now. I was saying, Mr. Bongo as well, if I wake up tomorrow morning, Mr. Bongo is the president for Liberia, I would feel like I was supposed to come down, so easy. About Mr. Blacker, Mr. We are there are no option for Liberia. Mr. Blacker is old, but even if you take away his age, there is nothing in his history that tells us that he was any kind of a productive or resourceful person. You know what I mean? Everybody working their life, when they retire, they go into doing something. You saw the American President, Jimmy Carter, working with Habitat for Humanity. He was still trying to solve, problem in the world.
But coming retired too.
Waiting for the national, for government job, So again, I'm not gonna move forward. Mr. Boyka, Mr. Weir, there are no option. Or Mr. Publix trying to take us into the 21st century, and he has better chance because when we look at the tribal politics, he has no real competitors in the global land, but looking at Nima or Mr. Bongo post a real threat right there to Mr. Boyka. He's looking to Lofa, the young man, post a real threat to Mr. Boyka. So I think Mr. Cummings stand a better chance, in the selection. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, that will do it for the callers. Gentlemen, we'll get a mini closing from each of us here, and that will do it for the show. Time is fast spent. Mr. Evan Morris, are you here with us? You ready to go first for your closing?
Sure, I'll go first. I mean, we don't see it's a face. Ridiculous thing. You don't see my face?
No. What did you do?
Hiding.
All right, go ahead. That's okay.
He turned camera off.
Can you see me now? I can see myself. I don't know if you guys can see me or not.
Go ahead. Come back in the queue.
Go ahead, Evans.
Okay, let me just make my closing. It's a ridiculous statement for that guy to say that we were trading Marabio. They would trade trade Josh Weah for Marabio. You know who Marabio is? There was a guy who took over power in that country through a coup. He was part of a military junta. So he's not a democratic person like George Weah is. Like I said, there's not everything that going on in Liberia. I'm not happy with everything. I think the government has some room to improve. But when it comes to this assertion that Liberia is the worst country and looking at Sierra Leone, when you look at just the numbers, some of the statistical numbers, Liberia is doing better off than Sierra Leone. But people who hate our country so much and hate George, we had to think everything in Liberia is so bad. Let it go move to Sierra Leone and see how they will fare there compared to Liberia. The reality is, this election, there's some parallels we can draw between somebody like Joseph Boyka, who quote unquote have the experience, who's serving government, but has nothing to show for it, to somebody like Dr. Kamara in Sierra Leone, who was a former government official who's vying for the presidency now, ran for it the last time and lost, and is probably going to lose again, which will be parallel to JMB this time around. He can't win election. His experience doesn't speak for itself. He has no tangibles to show to the Liberian people after 40 plus years in government, and the Liberian people will know, even though things are not so great economically, but they know that the president is trying. Just what Edward Amara said, the people know that the economic suffering in our country is not only based on President Weah. There are external factors that we have to consider. And I think the Liberian people are smart enough to see those factors and know that President Weah is trying to put the country in a better position. I will leave it there.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, we have some parallels with Sierra Leone. We find ourselves in the same region. We all started as countries that were established by diaspora Africans that were illegally taken away from their homes and wanted to return to their land of their ancestors. So we have some parallels, but we're similar, but we're very different. And though we can take some keys or some clues from the Sierra Leone election, I think our election will be very, very different. We have a very strong incumbent party, and we have a disunited opposition. And I don't see anything ideologically different, except that it's an individual personality thing. So it is, as far as I'm concerned, as this persists until Liberians start looking at what critical things instead of just personalities, we will always go with whoever's popular at the time. So this next election, it's almost a given that the CDC will have victory.
All right, Mr. Aliu Kamara.
Yeah. Before I continue, let me just say, Anthony, I'll be prepared to come out here and do the what should I say, comparative analysis between our various candidates. But do me a favor, bring someone that actually knows the individuals and the issues. And I wish Evans were in that position. I would have took him on tonight, but I know he just have euphoria and doesn't really understand. The truth of the matter is, Mada Bio as an individual is a better person than George Weah. When you talk about a coup, Mada Bio took over Sierra Leone during the heat of the war and transitioned Sierra Leone into a civilian government that brought Tijan Kabak back into authority. And then Mada Bio would leave and go to both United States and England and learn, and then go back and became a civilian and ran in the elections in Sierra Leone where he won. And since he took over Sierra Leone is first on his agenda. He speaks for Sierra Leone. He's able to lobby for Sierra Leone. He's able to find some of the most sophisticated Sierra Leonean in the diaspora, brought them to work. He has provided security for Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone has more security than Liberia. Sierra Leone is among the Community of Nations right now, the place where Ellen put Liberia before that George Weah came and took Liberia out of. So when somebody says there is no comparison between the two people individually, They're just not in the same category of human being. Let's just admit that. Liberia and Sierra Leone, I agree. Liberia and Sierra Leone might be similar in many ways. The fact that Liberia and Sierra Leone, they were one country but were split by the British, that's one similarity. The fact that a lot of Liberian northern, Mr. Central or western side is also a part of Sierra Leone, but politically we have some differences in terms of how we carry out our political activities. We are kind of different. I think we're more civil in terms of politics compared
Did that man
to.
say left part of Liberia, part of Sierra Leone? Is that what I just heard that man say?
Jimmy, he's closing. We can't do that.
No, but I mean, come on now. We all know this history fact that the British took a piece of land from Liberia. Now he talking something different here?
He didn't say anything different. He's talking culturally. Whether they took it, whether they split it, we are the same people. Mende speaking, people there, Mende speaking here. That's what he's saying. Aliyo, am I not right?
You are correct. If he agree with me, I don't know why he cut me off.
Okay, no, I totally agree. I just thought I heard something different. My apologies.
He just misunderstood the man at all, but
yeah, go ahead, Mr. Kamara. You are protected, my friend.
Sierra Leone and Liberia are the same naturally. They're divided by a border, by political border. That's all. But here is the thing. Look, all in all, great conversation. I always enjoy my time here. And Mr. Gilman, I thank you so much for the entertainment. I tell you what, you make people healthy with these jokes. Laughing is very good for our health, And I want to say, look, Liberia is what we all have. I have the right to be citizen of Ghana or Nigeria or anywhere, go to Sierra Leone, become citizen, and live there. But I still choose Liberia. Whatever I do is Liberia. Every year I must go to Liberia. That means we have some loyalty to that land. And we must all get together and develop this country, Anthony, but we cannot do it by these kinds of biases. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to speak the truth. We have to stand with the truth. And that will take us far. I have not come here today at all to promote Joseph Boakai. We will have the forum for that. I've come to stick with this topic. But thanks for having me.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony Gill.
Thank you, Mr. Sia, and thank you to all the panelists here this evening. That's what I have to say. Joseph Nyoman Boakai is the past of Liberia. Josh Manawia is the present. Alexander Benedict Kume is the future of Liberia. This election, however, is about the economy of Liberia. It's about job creation of Liberia. It's about giving every Liberian the opportunity to have a better life in Liberia. Does that mean everyone will be millionaire? Absolutely not. But everyone will have the opportunity to be able to buy their own bag of rice. If they have children, send their children to school, buy clothes for their children, take their children out on vacation, and build a little bumbo, the way Liberian will say. Build a little house for themselves. That is the Liberia the communists will present. Because we saw the Unity Party for 12 years. We have seen the CDC leadership for 5.5 years going to 6 years. They promised 1 million job creation in the PAGP or take 1 million people out of poverty. Even though taking someone out of poverty is even difficult than creating a job, having a job does not necessarily take you out of poverty. They promised that. They gave a blank number. The other day, Minister 12 made a number that he cannot defend. So, ladies and gentlemen, this election is about the economy. If you know that your household, in the morning you wake up from bed and you're supposed to have a breakfast, and you don't have a breakfast, you feel hungry, you want to eat, and you don't have the resources to eat, you have to go struggle, hustle around all day long, and in the evening time, before you can find something to eat or give something to your children, you don't want that lifestyle. You want a life where you will wake up and feel proud of yourself, find food for your children, provide for them, and stop being a beggar. That's the Liberia Mr. Cummings is presenting to the Liberian people. That's the opportunity. This is the reason why he's taking that bold step to end the era of impunity. Appointing a special prosecutor for the War and Economic Crime Court is not unconstitutional by the president. The president can do an executive order and appoint that person. The legislature, yes, will create that court. So, Mr. Gilman, don't come here and say the ANC people can do this, the ANC people can do that. You want to speak? Speak to the issue. You're not the only person that read the Constitution of Liberia. and you don't have monopoly on idea. So let me say this to you: if you love the CDC, the 1 million job you promise the people that you're going to create, currently the Liberian government can only hire 70,000 people. That's it. You have over 5 million people. How do you supply the resources to the 5 million people? How do you address that problem? 1,700 people just graduated from the University of Liberia and other higher institutions. They will all go home. At least 95% of them will have no job. What do you say to those people? What do you say to those young children who graduated from high school supposed to go to college? What is their hope? What is the aspiration for them? Job, 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 create economic opportunity, having broadband connectivity, which is my area of expertise. It will create more jobs. Liberia will be able to work from home and be right in Grand Jide or Sano County, Maryland, Grand Crew, and working for Microsoft or Google or any other software company out there in the world, just from their house. Once there is a broadband connectivity, my brother, it is very important that we talk about these things. Flat rate at the port, when there is a container that is $1,000, you have 100 containers, you know that $100,000 you're going to get, right?
Thank you.
My man, wrap it up, wrap it up.
Flat rate, not bureaucracy. This is the reason why we support the CPP and our standing brother Alexander Benedict Cummings.
Thank you. Jerome?
The entertainment is good. No wonder the 7% is not going anywhere. Everywhere they have gone, like you say, every poll we have taken in Liberia, they cannot go beyond 7%. They are always either
take a food tonight.
I mean, let me talk about it. Don't even interrupt.
You see, when I say contradiction, let me talk to Mr. Gay here. When he talk about the port honor Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a government to which Mr. Cummings was an advisor.
Advisor?
They signed 68 agreement. 66 out of the 68 was bogus. And the gentleman who signed that contract says, I'm talking about Mary Snow, he said, I have to apologize to the Liberian people for the port contract that we signed by giving the port contract to the Blair Corporation, that Tony Blair, whose wife is a lawyer to Cummings for 30 years. The 30 years, the contract cannot be reviewed, it cannot be questioned, because doing so will give Liberia a bad image that this place is not a place to do business. They sign contract, they cannot hold up to the contract. This ATM company in Liberia that have exclusive right for 30 years. Tony Blair, his wife, represented ANC when he was sued. This is what we're calling that when we're talking about talking from both sides of your mouth. And something else I like in Sierra Leone.
He represented Cummings, not ANC.
That's correct. And who is the leader of the opposition? Is
the
Cummings.
court record did not say ANC.
But again, the court record did not say
ANC. If Cummings can contradict himself, he said he made a clean hands. He said, in fact, what he said when he get there in 30, all these things will disappear, but yet and still, here is the man who has a company dealing with the people who are actually subjugating our people to slavery. Second, there's something in Sierra Leone. They have parliamentarians who are parliament chiefs. And their sole responsibility is to advise the parliament on cultural issues. And the guy made it very clear. Listen, he says, when the gay issue came up on the floor, parliament chief said, hey, we object. This is not our culture, our tradition. It shouldn't be discussed, and they threw it out. So what we are saying here, these people have a culture that they protect. Mr. Cummings admitted that being gay is a culture that it's something that he struggled with. He struggled.
Mr. Gilman, don't
It's
go
a
there. Let's leave it.
lifestyle. It's a lifestyle he struggled with. In our Liberian culture, in my Basa culture, gay is not cultural. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have.
Anthony Gay, why are you not interrupting the man?
Listen, you have a clear distinction here. I am quoting Mr. Comey himself. It's a lifestyle he struggled with. And when Diakona asked him, are you sure you want to answer this question this way? He said, I got to be honored with the Liberian people. This is who I am. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a clear-cut candidate that is building roads, free wires, free college education. We are talking about parks and recreation. We are talking about parks and recreation. Ladies and gentlemen, the tangible will beat them. And actually, ANC is not even going in the second round. So, Joseph Boyka, we will retire him. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It was a great debate, and I'm waiting forward. I'll put my red shoes on layaway. We are getting ready for the inauguration. Joe, we
I
are
need to come on your show one-on-one, Mr. Gilman.
On
your show one-on-one.
All right, folks. In cyberspace, we want to say thanks so very much for staying with us throughout the broadcast. This has been, a very good discussion, taking cues from the Sheridan election and looking at Liberia, trying to see whether there are parallels, whether there are reasons to think that the election might favor the current government, which is the CDC, or somebody from the opposition might come to win it. Folks, thanks so much for staying with us throughout the broadcast. Politics, people, is powerful. It has a way of changing people's life for the good and for the bad. That is the politics that Liberia will have to fix. This time, electoral politics, when the people decide among those running who should be president for the presidency of Liberia, is a powerful position. One can do so much good with it when one is elected to that position. Will it be will it be Boyka to get the last laugh this time? Or will he bear his head down again? Nothing on the lofa? I don't know. Will it be Cummings who is preaching this message of economic empowerment? Will he be the one? Or will it be Tiawan Gonglo, the man who wants to use the rule of law as the foundation for development in Liberia and accountability and so on and so forth? Will it be somebody that we don't know? The decision is with the Liberian people. I know one thing. One of these men, sorry that we don't have a woman yet, will be president. Whoever that person going to be, well, I know one thing, Liberia will remain here. That Liberia will not be in a good place. It will still be in a difficult place until that one person comes up. I don't see any among them. I don't see it. And I don't see it. But God sees it. So let God bring it to us, somebody will say. Well, the song says we are all Liberians. That song is taking us home. We just pray that whoever becomes president will do the right thing for the Liberian people. That is always our prayer. For no matter what, we must get one president at a time. Enjoy that song that says we are all Liberians, and bye-bye, folks. Thank you for watching.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberia.